property values, but there's still a lot less of people still showing up proportionally.
Yes, that's the second thing that I would bring up. Second piece of information. If you feel that your value is too high, please appeal it, because most people do not. Sometimes it seems like, I'm on the board, but I'll say it seems like they're throwing a number against the wall and see if it sticks. And if you don't protest, it sticks, as Mr. Pate will know.
Good comments, though. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Okay, anything else for the commissioner? Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
The county judge is going to write a letter.
Yes, well, that was
Your resolution.
part of after the report, to prove the report, the county judge asked that the commissioner's court write a letter to the appraisal district asking them to definitely look at oil and gas production, specifically to see what's going on.
Try to address that area. Okay, that's good. Thank you, Commissioner.
My
Appreciate
pleasure,
it.
thank you.
All right. Okay, I know we have a few agenda items, but those that are not on the agenda, anybody else during the visitors and citizens comments? Yes, sir.
For anybody who knows Mr. Wayne Hurl, he had a stroke shortly after Christmas. He's been in the hospital, been in rehab, still not looking well. His right leg, he can now move it. He can cross his right leg over his left where he couldn't even move it for the last month or so. One of his big things was coming to a city council meeting. He loved it, doing it. If anybody knows him, cares about him, you should go see him. He lights up when people come see him, and that makes his day a little hard to understand. But supposedly the doctors say if he can move some of the thinking from a back lobe to a front lobe and something about retraining your brain. But anyhow, he's up and walking. They had him up the other day where he's making milestones. But if anybody knows him and likes him, you should go see him, and I can get you.
Where is he?
Yes.
He's in a rehabilitation center on Eckert and something, and I'd have to get you the exact name.
So I had it on my report, sir, but I'll go ahead and cover it right now. So I talked to Lori this afternoon. So I
Okay,
talked to
good.
Lori. Wayne will be going home tomorrow. So they're gonna go ahead and get him. They think they can help him better by being at home instead of the facility. So that's gonna happen. A little bit later on, I do have a handout. I have his address. I talked to Lori, highly encourage folks to actually go ahead and send cards, best wishes to him as a way to kind of get him going, because he does have limitations, both motion and communication wise. It is going to take some time. It's going to take some time to get him there, but I think by us motivating him and reaching out to him, it'll be a good thing. So later on, I'll go ahead and pass these out and give that. But thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Great individual, definitely, without a doubt. So, all right. Anything else? All right. So let's go ahead and move on into our action item. The first one that we have is A, discuss and act upon the assurance of certificate of obligation based upon the recommendations made by the city engineer and financial advisors for funding necessary infrastructure projects.
My gut feeling is would be premature right now without getting concrete values.
Charles, what would you like to do?
You know, we got a lot of good info earlier from Jeff and Andrew, and we need a list, right, of what we want to include in the certificate of obligation. Or, I mean, you can speak more. I know not everyone was here, but it sounded like that's the most flexible option we have.
Yes, so for the benefit of the public meeting, my name is Andrew Friedman with Samco Capital Markets. I have the pleasure of serving as the city's financial advisor. In order to proceed with the issuance of a certificate of obligation, we need to get a list of the priorities of various projects and their costs. From there, we can pull together the financial analysis in concert with Jeff and his firm's numbers to come up with the plan to repay that debt, make sure that all of the facts are lining up. And then once we've settled upon that, I would propose that we bring forward to you all a notice of intention resolution, which is the first legal step to kicking off the issuance of certificate of obligation. So that, conceivably, that's your May, June city council meeting, when we get all of these facts and then pull that together is going to drive that timetable from the start of that, the passage of the notice of intention resolution, it's roughly 90 days before the funds are received by the city. And so, you could have funding as soon as this summer to start really pushing on these projects. So there's a lot to determine between now and then, but that's generally the timeline. And there are some whole gaps of information we need to flesh out in order to proceed. I'm happy to answer any questions. I know Jeff's here to speak to the projects in particular, should you have any questions.
I think what we came out of the workshop and stuff is being able to put the list. So Jeff, you can help us out with that.
Sure.
Quite a few things that we need to look in priorities to take care of that, along with opportunities, maybe with some of our associated partners that we actually have. Try to do that. Okay.
I mean, I know that we also have some other items on the agenda, Mayor, dealing with funding as well. And like Andrew was telling us that we can include those as well to get what the city needs, get what the residents and businesses need. So I would move that we table this item until the first meeting in March, when we get a list of all our priorities for the city and get back with Andrew and work that out.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor for us to table it. Got a second? Any further discussions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Go ahead and table. All right. B, consider an act upon update on proposal from Lytle Chamber of Commerce for procurement and installation and maintenance of a digital sign for the city of Lytle.
Sure.
Thank you, Andrew.
But thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Taking your water, going around the room.
Yes. Everyone. Thanks.
Thanks, Jeff.
You have two. And last but not least.
All right, thanks.
All right, good evening, Mayor, Council. At the last meeting, just a reminder, I was asked to dust off the cost proposal that we received from Alamo Signs. There you have an updated estimate for the year 2022. I believe it's good for about 90 days, but it gives you an idea of the current cost, the market cost. I would also add, I don't know if there's opportunity to favor, but it is a veteran-owned company, Alamo Signs. So if that weighs into a decision on who to go with for the service, I just want everybody aware. I would also like to, some of the comments over the last 3 meetings that I've come to visit you have led me to wonder if everybody understands that the Chamber of Commerce is a nonprofit, a 501c6. So we are not for profit. We are not trying to use a sign to get revenue to be profitable. All the monies that the chamber brings in goes back into businesses, which comes back to the city in the form of taxes. So I would like to think of the chamber as a partner to the city, not as a business or a revenue or profit entity within the community.
So you gave us 2 different proposals on here.
Yes, sir. 2 different sizes.
Okay. So based on the discussion that was mentioned before, and the the things that we have? Are we still looking at the 4x8 option?
I think, Mr. Kate felt like the larger sign would be more appropriate. At the last meeting, he had made comment. I felt like the larger sign would probably be more appropriate as well.
Okay.
But let me ask you, we haven't really talked about the programming of this thing. Does it connect to a computer? Somebody sit at a computer and type this stuff in and
No.
send it there?
You actually connect to the sign via Wi-Fi, so you could take your phone out there, connect to the sign on a private Wi-Fi network just between your phone and the sign. If you have the correct credentials, and then you can update it from a phone, a laptop, an iPad. That's how most of them are. Included in the cost is training for people to learn how to update the sign.
But there are graphics involved in this, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you would need more than just. sit
Well,
with
so,
your
yeah,
phones.
so the first thing they will do during the training is set up your first set of graphics. So typically you'll set up some graphics and then rotate them
Oh,
through.
okay,
So you would just pick, I want this graphic with this message. Businesses who want to advertise, that would be their responsibility to come up with their graphics to be pushed.
Then they would just bring in a flash drive or something, plug it in and.
Yeah, I don't even think it would require a flash drive. It'd probably just be downloading an image to your phone, connecting and
No, I mean,
uploading
if a
that.
business said
Oh, yeah, yeah,
we're
yes,
gonna put one up there and they provide everything for us through
Yes,
some media.
yeah, they could email it maybe or,
Okay.
yeah, bring a disc. And I believe it was you, sir, who asked about some materials, some examples. I asked the company, they were a little bit reluctant because we've been back to this well with them a couple times, so they're not sure the city's serious. But they did say if the city is committed to this, they would do more than just presentations. They would bring out a truck with a representative sign and show you all the features that it has, show you how to program it, show you what's involved in maintenance, et cetera.
Council?
Well, we had talked about using some hotel tax money, right? To do this. And Josie understood we had enough in the hotel motel tax to cover this?
And then some.
Okay, all right. Question back here.
Can I ask where the sign's gonna be posted and is there powered already and who's gonna,
It would replace the existing city sign.
be right here on the corner?
Yeah.
The only problem, if it is a problem, it's over 50,000. If you're gonna go with the larger sign, then you're gonna have to go out and bid.
So,
One other question, sorry, that sign that's going up, up on 35 at the gas station there, it's pretty bright. How is the brightness gonna impact traffic? Is it high enough? I mean, all these things to be considered, because.
Yes, I went back to the,
Blind somebody.
that was my first visit, was to go out to go to TxDOT to evaluate the sign. It passed with their engineers, they're fine with the design.
So council, just,
So if we go with the bigger sign, then we'll have to,
put it out for bids.
yeah,
bid,
That's correct.
or the smaller one tonight,
If we wanted to, but, I mean,
but if the council decides.
Yeah, I don't really have any perspective. I'm not,
so the smaller one is 4x8, that's about what we got out there right now, 4x8.
it may be a little bit,
4 feet.
but it's pretty close to what's out there now, which isn't really impressive.
Matt, did you have something?
Does this company do buy board or HVAC? We could cut the bidding process out if they'll just give us that pricing. It's already pre-bid.
No,
If they do government.
we are
work,
we are members of our board, and if
Right
this
now, we
company
would might
is,
have to go out for bids.
it would bring the price down considerably to where we wouldn't have to go out. to bid.
And if they're not a member, it may pay to become a member.
Or there may be some other sign companies that are,
There are.
I mean, there are, I mean, yeah, they
Yeah,
exist.
there are.
That's buy board, BUYBOARD.
DOARD.
It's gonna be a lot cheaper.
You know, there's several cooperatives that we're in on that we
Right.
purchased through. And the whole purpose of it is so a city doesn't have to go out for bid, because it's been pre-bid.
Right.
And the board awards a signed bid to that, to
So,
Yeah, the schools
So-
do the same thing.
so it would need to be $49,999 to award.
Not now, not now.
Commissioner?
No, it doesn't. It can be over 50,000 as long as they're a member of the cooperative.
I see.
And it's
It's
already,
explained,
yeah,
it's
if it's already,
pre-bid.
because it's already been put out for bid.
I got
I would like to move on that. We need to table it for one more meeting until we find out about the flag board, or can we make a contingency approval to go for the big board?
I think you have the option of which way you want to go. I think, if you want to do provisional or conditional approval, you can go ahead and move down that road.
Who does this legwork, to find out about my work? Who's responsible?
On the past, Matt, the police department has done that.
I've done that for the police department stuff. I don't know who he's talking to, or, I mean, I would say he should be able to call and say,
Are you members
can
of
you
my
quote
board?
this in buy
No.
board, so we don't have to go out for bids? And then-
Or, and there's other GSA, there's several, I think, that fall
Council
under.
of Governments,
Yeah, there's several of them that might fall in there. If you just ask them that, we've got like dealerships, we're this, and this, they have two or three of them that we all fall under, that are qualified.
Well, I move that we go with the 5x10 board, contingent on us getting reduced price through buy board that brings us under the one for bid rate.
but if, David, they won't have to bring you under, I mean,
Well,
I would just say put an amount, so if we want to say not to exceed 60,000,
works for me. So that's my motion.
so you got a
We
motion?
go buy board not to exceed 60,000, 5x10 same.
and I don't, based upon what Rich is saying, you may want to expand that a little bit more, because again, we can also buy from, Council of Governments, they have their own buying, group. So just any,
Josie, I amend it to any cooperative buying agency. How's that?
good, very good.
That's it. Okay.
Second.
I got a second? Okay.
Repeat what I said.
There you go. We got a second on the floor. Okay, discussion?
One question, with the, I believe they're putting a turn lane out there, is that
That was part of the text dot two out. It's going on
asking the
full.
dumb questions, that's all.
It's gonna have less footprint than the current sign on the ground.
Got that one. Any other further discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Thank you, Brent.
So my due out to go back to Alamo, check what co-ops they belong to.
And we'll just the co-ops and be able to get an idea and then get back with Josie.
Okay, yes, sir.
Yeah, there's your resources right back
Sounds good.
Okay.
there. Brad, thanks for your legwork on
Yep.
this.
Yes, sir.
That'll be
Thank
great.
you.
Awesome. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to C. Consider and act upon proposal from Cody Davenport to install awnings on bleachers at T-ball field at John Lott Municipal Park. All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Go ahead, Cody.
Cody.
We're hot neck here.
Got a laser pointer too.
You know,
All right. Good evening, council. Good evening, Mayor. So I am back 2 weeks later. So the last time I was here, there was 3 things that y'all asked me to do. One was to consult with the building inspector to make sure that what we're building is gonna be okay for the public to be under. And then also to come back with an idea for the T-ball awnings as well, since the softball field, y'all wanted me to come back with that. And also for community contributions as well. So after I spoke with Mr. Martin, he said, whatever we do, make sure that we over-engineer everything. He said that they needed to be able to withstand at least a 90-mile-per-hour wind. So we went ahead and came back and decided, you know what, we're gonna put 2 more upright posts and a cross beam in the middle So that way there's no question about it that it's gonna be plenty strong to withstand the wind, and we're not gonna have any issues. So with that being said, you're gonna notice, and also we went from 14 gauge to 11 gauge on the posts. So with that being said, there's an additional cost with that. So the original quote was gonna be 3,700, and it bumped up to about 4,800 for the thicker material and more material as well. So there was an added cost to that. So we went ahead and my wife and I went and started measuring things up at the T-ball field just to kind of get an idea of what kind of buildings we wanted to put in there. We wanted to be as close to what we're already covering at the softball field as well. So what we ended up looking at and deciding to go with was a 13 by 30 that's going to be same construction over the softball fields. But then we had a lot more room to work with over there. So we went with a 13 by 40. So we have one 13 by 30, one 13 by 40. And if you look, you can actually see at the bottom in that corner where it actually goes down. So during the practices and during the games, that's where a lot of people put their lawn chairs and the little kids are out there playing and everything else. So that's going to not only cover the bleachers themselves, but it's also going to give a lot more people for chair seating and area for their kids to put their pack and plays and whatnot. So that will give us a lot more room over in that area. So that total cost is going to be $45,16 is what the cost would be to do that. This kind of gives you a breakdown of the T-ball field. It's very similar to the one that we had last time for the softball field, with the exception of two things. I added contribution signs. So it'll look similar to this. So I was thinking black and gold, so it kind of matches the city. So made possible with contributions by the city of Lytle, TXN Bank, which was a Community National Bank, and then also Amigos still, they're going to be assisting with the contributions as well. And then I also put fuel charges in there. So with some of the equipment that we're going to be using out there with the welders and the Bobcat to help drill the holes, there's going to be a fuel cost and just a few other things there that'll be associated with the cost of building these structures. So this is the fields that we're looking at doing. So the softball field is 4,800. The T-ball field, we're looking at about 45,16. TXN Bank's actually going to contribute $2,500, and Amigos still, it's about $1,200 that they're going to be contributing as well. So with the total cost of for the city to build both structures would be about $56,16. I know y'all have already given us the permission to go to about 3,700, so there will be about another $2,000 additional cost to the city to be able to build these. And that's, there's a ton of money and labor charges and everybody else there that we're not even worried about. So as far as that goes, the proposal is, do y'all have any questions to that at this time?
Do we have any money in park or?
We did put some money aside in capital improvements for the park. I believe we put 10,000 aside for that.
So we have the additional 2,000 then? to be able to do
Yeah,
this others.
without my pulling up the report, we haven't spent anything yet this year, so.
Did the council make action on how much they could spend the last meeting?
They gave him permission for the 3,700.
So we would have to amend,
We
or just go for the,
Just-
add the,
then I go ahead and make a motion that we go ahead and approve this amount, 56, is that correct? 5616?
Yes, sir, that would be the total. So last time is 3,700.
Yeah.
And then
For both fields.
Yes.
Good deal.
second. There, good discussion. The only thing I have, go ahead, Charles.
You're gonna have to cut down any trees over there by the softball or T-ball field?
I don't believe so. We might have to edge a few. I don't even know if we'll have to do that, but that's a possibility from the trees that are coming up and over. I'd like to keep everything off the metal to make for longevity of the metal itself. But we might have to lop just some limbs, not really cut a tree down.
China tree.
They are China berry trees. They're-
Oh, great loss. They disappear, they disappear.
Yeah.
Cody, the only other thing is based on the angle, just take a close look with rainwater, where the water's gonna.
Correct. So the watershed's going to be towards the back of the structures, and they're going to be a 3-inch drop from the front to the back to make sure it's all up to code and compliance.
Good. Keep the water away from that area.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any other discussion?
Now, is this gonna be billed to the city, invoice to the city, or how
So-
do you wanna work that?
That was my next question is, from here, I don't know how to go about getting the funding to Amigo Steel, to getting the money to Lowe's to buy the concrete and that kind of stuff. And also the finances that we're getting from the bank, I don't know how to
Well,
go about that.
you want a check written to the Little League so that they can get this done? For the 5616?
Would be good, make it easier for you,
Yes, sir.
get you started with that.
That way we can get moving because, I mean, the league's starting pretty quick and people are already out there practicing, so we're gonna,
I think we can get a check for you tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it's needed, but January is playing softball and it's pretty hot out there.
get warm.
Do y'all have work days set up for people to volunteer, or do you have all the help you need?
We've got, I know with a lot of the people, a lot of the parents already on the teams, they're just waiting for it. We have help, but at the same time, we don't want to get so much help that we've got people just kind of putting their hands on things that we don't really want.
Jeremy's like 2 doors down, he can be.
Yep.
Still?
Okay, with that in mind, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
So we can start whenever we,
Get with
Give
Josie.
me a call tomorrow afternoon, and I will hopefully I'll get check for you.
awesome, excellent.
Okay, great job.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank you
so
very
much.
much, Council.
That's awesome. Look, you're all smiling. Isn't that awesome? That's a great feeling. That's what it's all about. Okay, D, discussion and possible action to approve the use of funds from the remaining business grants for the purchase of a storage shed to be leased to the Lyle Little League. Anthony?
Yes. Hey, good evening, council. I'm back. So where we last left off, this thing kind of evolved into from just a 12 by 10 storage shed that we were requesting to a full-blown, hey, what can we do that's bigger and better, right? So between the last meeting and today, I did a little bit of research. I didn't really know where to start. This is something that I think that I had a conversation with Charles about what do we want to do? What do we have in mind? One of the things that came up was to do something that might be similar to what is at the baseball field and softball field at the high school. So with that in mind, I went to generalsteel.com, it's the first place I started, and they had something called a barn dominium. So it's like a multi-purpose facility. This basically gives you an idea of what we're looking at. This is a 45 by 70 structure. It has a place for storage, a place to have a snack shack or concession stand. They're basically just 3 pictures in there. I did put some shortcuts in there, but I didn't know that you guys didn't have internet service to do some hyperlinks. But this is just basically a basic rendition of what I was thinking of. So I call it the SOC, right? So storage, office, concession stand. I spoke to a general contractor with, his name is Mr. Russell Vera with Lights Out Welding. This is what he came up with for us on the fly. So part storage on one side where I let him know that we probably want to have it big enough for a gator or some type of vehicle. At some point in time, if we're going to purchase it and use it to go across the park with or to drag the field. We talked about storage cages for the equipment that we would want to put in there. We talked about a concession stand area. And then he said, hey, we did something very similar for the city of Gonzales. And they went a step further and thought it might be useful for the city to rent out as another source of revenue stream. I didn't think about that, but it made sense. So this is basically just the start of to get the conversation started. What I'm thinking that we're seeing here is probably going to cost a pretty penny, right? It's going to take, I would say, a committee because I don't think this is a one-man show. It certainly isn't something that I would provide input. I'd be certainly happy to, lead this project, but I think that, I bring this to you to see what kind of guidance and direction you think we might head. It's based on the conversation that we had earlier about the certificates of, what are they called? Obligation, that this might be a priority. One of the things that I wasn't able to provide on the thumb drive was a map of where I was thinking of where to put this thing. So there are 3 possible locations. So if you guys are familiar with where the concession stand is, there is an area between the concession stand and that play area. There's like a playground between the concession stand and the basketball court. So basically in that center field area, just in front of where the existing concession stand is. The other option would be across that walkway path next to the gazebo in that area. And then the third place would be between the Little League field and the softball field. So, I mean, it's kind of like drinking from a fire hydrant with all this information I'm giving you. But I think what I'm asking for first and foremost is that the discussion was to approve the use of funds for this effort, and that would certainly be on the table. I failed to mention that I did make a call to Waste Management, and I'll let them know that we're now considering putting the structure out there that could be a multi-purpose structure. If they would be willing to consider helping us in some way, whether it's in-kind donations or monetary donations. He asked if we were a nonprofit. I said, absolutely, we are. He said, okay, that makes things easier. So when you get a price and some estimates, and we know kind of a ballpark figure of what it is that it's going to take to put this structure into place, then to come back to him and see what he might be able to do. He would have to raise it up a flagpole, talk to their PR department, and then see how they might be able to help. But that was just one phone call, one conversation. But I feel like I need your guys' guidance on where do we go from here? What is the city? What does the city think might be? Is this something to consider?
Do you have a ballpark figure?
I don't. I do not. I mean, and it depends on specifications. And that's where I feel like, is this something that's going to be done by a committee where we have a few people that might be on the Little League, some people out in the general public, some folks like yourselves, for, who are the stakeholders that are going to be involved in this project that can set those requirements?
My question to you is, we're talking about committees, we're talking about having your prices and all this stuff. Is that gonna take care of y'all needing the storage space now?
No, it's not. I mean, that's low hanging fruit would have been to just say, yeah, get the 12x10 storage. But it's like I said, it's evolved. And so
Yeah.
we've made do with, what's been where we are right now. There's been equipment in my garage, there's been equipment in, CJ's garage. We make do. But if it means making do for however long it takes to build something like this, I think we can wait, So,
Yeah, I mean, 'cause that was my concern, is that you're gonna outgrow that. You've already outgrown that 120 square foot storage shed. So it's like we're just flushing money down whenever we can put it towards. I did have one question on this. Are there new bathrooms for this, or this is without?
this is just a shell. Like I said, as part of the requirements that we would be all coming together to try to figure out, do we want bathrooms? Do we not want bathrooms? Do we want it to have?
Well, you're gonna have to have plumbing in it if you got a concession.
Well, I mean, some of the
stand.
things to consider, that's true. That's absolutely true. I mean, would that mean repurposing the existing concession stand for it to just be all bathrooms? Because we would separate bathroom and concession stand. Yeah,
Lord knows that's a thought, because we lost a lot of space when we had
Yeah.
when we remodeled. Our best thing would have been to just
knock it down. Yeah.
demo the whole thing and start again.
Mhm.
We lost all.
Yeah. Well, there is power right there by the existing concession stand. That's kind of why I figured, and it's in the middle There's some area, on the General Steel website, it allows you to drop how big a size you want on the, like, it uses Google Maps, and, you know, based on the mapping, it looked like it could fit perfect right in that center spot in center field. So, thoughts, questions, comments,
Sam,
concerns?
you're the liaison for parks, do you wanna,
Well, I can help you out. I mean, I know, I tried to get the lights for
Yeah.
the past 3 years. I can help you out and maybe I can talk to waste management again. Look at some other businesses that wanna help out.
Yeah,
no, well, I think we got two things. One is if the council feels like we wanna go down this road, it would probably be good for you to kind of help us out with putting the group
Well, like I
together.
said, I can approach some businesses asking, and I was asking for like, some businesses, they want to go into about.
Yeah, we probably need to design it, so we'll probably need to go ahead and get that finalized.
Yeah.
Council, how do you guys feel about maybe, I'm just throwing it out there, like a temporary pod or something to kind of help them out in between now?
You have storage buildings, public storage buildings right behind you. You rent out one of those on a month-to-month basis.
Yeah, you know, right now it's kind of a moot point because we're in season, so all of our equipment has been distributed out. So we're okay for the next 2-3 months. So we're all right. There's a stopgap. But down the road, you know, the concession stand won't get used, but that equipment will just pile in there until something better comes along. But that is something to consider, to rent out a storage unit.
I'd like to throw something out to council. You know, we were talking about certificates of obligation earlier. We talked about how this city's gonna grow with all these new homes coming in. We don't have enough ball fields at the park right now to serve what we got.
I agree.
We've got land out there by well number 3. Maybe we ought to consider doing something with ball fields there. I mean, we're gonna more than double the population in 3 to 4 years. We gotta start thinking ball fields now.
The only problem I see with that, you would have to level the land, because it's like this. And I remember when I was like in charge of, trying to get a,
The multi-purpose
yeah.
thing over there, yeah.
It was gonna cost, just $1 million just to.
And the septic, that was the issue with septic, that was a big issue we had, was the sewer out there. If you have anything big, a septic tank, because the sewer's not there. I mean, I was in on all those. The septic tank for a big facility was like just, I mean, it was hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that was part of the issue. You'd have to probably put a pump in or something.
Yeah, we were gonna do it in phases, but it was still gonna.
It was, well, back then was over 15 million.
So Sam, do you wanna get together and come up with concepts in a sense of what we wanna do?
Yeah. Can I move on that then? I move that Sam head up the committee, put together a committee to come up with proposals and action to get this taken care of.
Got a motion on the floor?
Second.
A second? Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
All right,
Go, Anthony.
I appreciate it. Thank you all.
Thank you. I like the barnuminium.
Yeah, all right. Just, yeah, hopefully, nice little area for everybody to kind of hang out under that awning.
Okay, E, considering it,
Before we go on,
yes,
Tom, look at the wording for that last item.
well, we just need to go ahead and table, I guess.
Yeah, that'd be the best course, just to table and Sam, just do it as a park liaison.
So council, take a look at the verbiage on there. Thanks, Josie.
I move that we table until we get input from this committee.
Second that.
Got a second? Okay, any discussion on that one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay, awesome. All right, E, consider an act upon the request from Dennis Parenter. Come on up, sir, for Ball Road.
All right, thank you. Good evening to everybody here. Some of you I know, some of you, this is my first time. My wife Maggie and I are here tonight. We own 2 parcels of property on Ball Road. We've owned them since 2020. We relocated down here. We sold our home in Illinois. We relocated here in January. It's our plan on making Lidle our home. The concern we had about the road, we had a brief meeting last year with the mayor and Josie and
Mr. McGrath.
Mr. McGrath, I'm sorry. Had some email correspondence with Mr. Emery from Mr. Morrow. The concern with the road that we had is that it seems to be just worn down to the very base, that there's just nothing left too much of the road. There's some very large rocks, I'll call it, in the road, yay size. Not the whole road, but in sections of it. There's children and seniors obviously living on the road. You can't travel the road at a normal speed, especially to protect your vehicle, so you do drive slower than normal. But our concern is as all of you know, seconds count when there's an emergency. None of us can predict those, of course. So getting to someone on that road is going to slow things up a little bit. And then on the reverse side, if you're the person being taken out on that road, could be a pretty rough ordeal. So what we're asking of the council is if you would allocate funds to bring either truckloads of gravel in to build and grade the entire road back up, or to pave it. Whichever council decides would be the most cost effective in the long run for tax dollars for the city. That's my first.
Just doing a dirt road? I haven't been out there.
James, did y'all ever get out there and do some work on it?
And we filled potholes up.
You filled the potholes
I think
up?
we dumped a load of gravel about a year ago, I think, or a little over a year ago.
Is this road even a city road?
No, unfortunately, it's not.
What I was gonna ask, there's private, we talked about this, there's a couple of private road signs and
Actually, it's not even a private road. Mr. Kate, you wanna explain to him this about Ball Road?
It's a BMA road, yeah. It's an easement.
We've had this discussion many times.
Oh,
We had this 10 years ago.
That's correct.
A bunch of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, BMA told us they didn't care if we went in there and paved it. We want to pave it, we pave it. Where's Bobby? Bobby's gonna have some comments about this, I'm sure. So, you know, last time we talked about doing something here was in April the 12th of 2010. Let's see, and at the time, Alderman Hernandez made a motion that the improvements to Ball Road be put on hold until the spoils are removed and agreements with all the property owners are received about paving this road. And that was seconded by Alderman Stone. And we never, you know, the people out there just couldn't get together on this. And there, we actually had an engineer go out there and take a look at it also. I think at that time, I'll find his letter here somewhere. I know that engineering design for this, because there was some concern out there that if we didn't do this correct, we'd just make a big old mud hole out there. And engineering design in 2010 was 23,000 or 24,000. And geotechnical report to make sure that we had the proper base for the road was another 3,300. So it's 27,000 12 years ago.
That's for the engineering.
Yeah, that's just for the engineering.
And the geotech.
If we're gonna pay it.
Well, that's the engineering for the design.
Just to level it.
I mean, you could go out there and spread dirt if you want, but you're not gonna, I don't think you're gonna correct the problem that you're talking about, are we?
I don't believe so, sir.
Yeah. So we were talking about, just like on the park, we were talking about taking care of the problem on a permanent basis. And, residents out there just couldn't come to an agreement on it. We were ready to spend the money, but we needed cooperation from the residents. And like I said, Mr. Roberts is gonna have something to say about this tonight. I know he will. I haven't talked to him about it, but I know he will.
What were we asking from the residents?
We were asking that what did they want? And they wanted it to be designed correctly. You know, and I'm glad you asked because I took notes. I have those.
But we weren't asking for, money participation, right?
No.
Okay.
Fred Soto wanted the road paved. Spanigal, which is the folks that you bought the property from, wanted to get it done in the correct way. He was talking about, we treat different areas of the city differently. Julio Inocencio wanted the road repaired. Henry Soto was okay with paving the road. How will the road be drained? Want the road paved. Bob Roberts, I'll let Bob speak for himself. And then Wayne Hurl, who we've heard about tonight, he wants the engineered so it can drain correctly and paved. Those are the residents down on the road. And that's just the notes that I had. And then there was somebody else, the note on that was that wants road paved.
Bob?
Mr. Robert,
Yes, sir.
would you like to
From,
make
from,
comments?
from what I remember back then, several things. And as far as the engineering goes, Ball Road is a drainage ditch right now every time it rains. BMA Canal is on one side and it's high. The road's a low part, then, and I'm not sure if there's a feeder canal on the other side or it's just a fence road, but basically the road is 12 inches below the property on both sides. And so that's one of the reasons why the gravel has not worked for the last 20 years. Because the more gravel you put in there, and you can make it look really nice, but when it rains and all the water comes down and goes right down the middle of the road and the water goes from one side of the road, then it goes down a little further, then it goes to the other side of the road, back forth, but it just washes all the gravel away. Down where Julio Inocencio and at the end of the road, they ended up with a bunch of all the silt from the base, all the little part, it just washed it all down. And so without building up the road, even if you paved it, you know, you have to have proper drainage X number of feet away from the pavement to do it. So that's been the issue all along. I believe 12 years ago, something that I mentioned to council, I believe they agreed to pave a 11-foot strip for the road. And I thought, that's awful narrow for cars to pass. And so Tom should have in his notes exactly what council was gonna put out for bids. It was not wide enough for two cars to pass on. And I thought, actually I went around and I measured the crappiest street that Lytle has. And it was like 19 feet wide paved. And I thought, you know, two cars can pass on that one. So that was an issue that I had when I came back to council. I said, why don't you make it big enough for people to pass on it instead of driving off in the dirt? And I've never heard another word about what happened.
James, didn't we have a problem with the water line? If I can remember, there wasn't a problem with the water line right in the middle of the road.
Yeah, it's on the edge now. I don't know how far on the road it is. But there's a 6-inch water main that runs on the right-hand side of the road. I think where the fire hydrant is, I think the main is underneath the road there.
So on the right-hand side going to their home, you're driving in.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's a 50-foot road easement, 50 feet wide.
So Tom, that does belong to us?
No.
No.
PMA.
could I ask a question to follow up where you're going with this? Just a question from a point of ignorance is, so BMA owns it, we just heard that, but so Lidle, the city of Lidle is, supposed to be in charge of maintaining it? Is that something that's in writing somewhere from a long ago agreement?
No, that's just something that the council has authorized Public Works to do. We've never accepted that road into our system of roads.
Okay.
Part of it may be in the city limits. but-
Yes,
The
yeah,
entrance
yeah.
isn't,
Yeah.
but
Just
most
to
of
kind
it
of
is.
dovetail on that is, if the BMA owned it, as Mr. Kate said, then what is the reason that all the residents had to have an agreement of whatever you folks decided to, how you wanted to maintain it?
Well, I think that at the time, well, Mr. Roberts knows the story.
Tom, you're mistaken from the standpoint of BMA owning it. BMA owns a 50-foot canal, which is the irrigation ditch. The access easement, the utility easement, the BMA easement is 50 feet on the other side of that, which is on the north side. This gentleman right here lives on the south side of it. And so the road and the 50-foot easement belongs to the property owners that are on the north side of the road. So BMA is the one who let City Public Service go down there 50 years ago. I'm pretty sure BMA is the one who let the city of Lidle put the water line down there in 1970 when y'all annexed the area. That was part of the stipulations. City of Lidle would run a water line down there if everyone out there would agree to be annexed into the city. And so 1970, 52 years ago, water came down there. So
If I'm not mistaken, I'm on the west side of the road, and then
was it north or west?
I'm on the west of the road, and then
Yeah.
south is the dead end part of the road.
Okay, exactly, okay, west and then east,
Unless I got
excuse me,
the
instead of north, okay, I apologize. So that's the way the land lays out, and I believe that's why, not sure, Mr. Kate mentioned that BMA owned the easement. BMA has right to the easement, but we pay personal property taxes to the city of Lidle, to the county, on that 50-foot easement. On the east, the people on the east side of the road.
So you own the road around in front of your house,
Yes,
in
sir.
front of your property.
Yes, sir.
And in front of Mr.
And
Hurls.
Henry owns the road in front of his house, and Billy
Hammock.
Hammock's estate owns, or, they owned it in front of theirs, and then
Fred Soto.
Soto owns it in front of his.
So that's why we had to get permission from everyone.
That's probably why. I don't remember exactly why everybody went for
So the
permission.
property lines go into it.
Pardon?
The property lines go into the road.
The road is an easement on everybody on the east side's property.
That was my recollection, because we've been through this, was that all the property owners to pave it, each one, Bob has to, I thought it was actually, they had to dedicate that to the city and then it would become a city road. So Bob would have to actually give away a lot of his personal property to the city.
But you can't do it if
Well,
BMA
we
has an
talked about it
easement.
maybe, but we never did it, but that was something somebody discussed. I've been in some of these things 22 years listening, so yeah, that's could be a different time.
Okay.
Yes.
Can we revisit it and go back and do the same thing, get the property owners and get their permission again to ask their permission?
Why would we have to ask all of them if only the ones on the east side own the property that the easement's on?
Excuse me, I agree. I mean, I understand what Bobby's saying.
Right.
But, there's a couple of issues. The people who bought that property, their property is subject to the easement. When this property was platted way back,
Probably before Lyle was even a city.
1912.
no, it's more
Long
like
before.
more like 1929, right before, the Great Depression.
Hmm.
But there was an easement, that easement was created then, and so the people who bought the land, they bought their land subject to this easement. So they really, they can't, you know, they can't stop people traveling on these.
Yeah, they wouldn't have a way to get to their properties if
But
they
like we
could
were
use it.
talking about the last time, we wanted to do a proper job. I mean, Mr. Roberts has already testified about the way that it drains out there. It just drains right down the street. So that's why we were trying to get a permanent solution to this, if they could come to an agreement.
So can you clarify for me where it says, I see on my survey where it says 50 feet BMA easement, as Mr. Roberts mentioned. And then on the Ball Road, it just says Ball Road, 50-foot ROW right of way.
Right of way.
When you have to do engineering,
Well, you know, I think that was just, I think that'd be the best thing to do. I mean, we're talking about the best solution. You know, so I think that, if you're gonna spend over 20,000 on it, you're gonna have engineering. And we've already got, I think that, for the hot mix, and then you don't wanna put a hot mix down unless, of course, it's been engineered.
Yeah.
You don't wanna put anything down unless, of course, it's been engineered.
Yeah, especially with the drainage. If we
Yeah.
have the drainage stuff, we probably need to do that. So Tom, is there anything in the sense of us proceeding, going down the road about getting at least the engineering portion of it done? What do we need to get from our homeowners?
Well, I mean, you can have it engineered, if that's what you wanna do. I mean, I don't, Bobby, you have any problems with it being paved?
no, not at all. Probably 15 years ago, I went out and spent $5,000 and just had gravel base material put in there in front of my property. And that's the only part of the road that's held up, and I didn't have it engineered. I just went and put it, had a guy with a maintainer, with a roller, put it down, and it's right in front of this gentleman's house, it's still the only part of the road that's decent, but of course, what we did is we put 10 or 12 inches deep so that the water doesn't run down the middle of it. And so, y'all want to engineer a road, pretty short road, and spend a lot of money on engineering fees when it can be built.
We don't have a choice when it's running.
That's y'all's business.
We don't really have a choice. The state requires us to get it engineered if it's over 50,000, 20,000.
How long is that road back to your property, Mr. Roberts? How long is that road? 1,500 feet from Wisdom back there?
Yeah, probably a quarter mile back there. And of course, and mine isn't totally flat. Mine slopes to keep all the water on one side. I didn't build a professional road crowned and, all that stuff like normal people build roads. I just tried to get something in so I wouldn't get mud all over my vehicles. But I just did it in front of my place because I had no right to go in front of Henry's and those other people up there. That's their deal.
It's gonna cost.
It is.
It's gonna cost several $100,000 to do it right.
So, whether it's our funds or if we go out to, because that's Bear County, right?
Two counties.
Bear County and Atascosa.
Atascosa.
Atascosa and Bear.
The biggest one inside of
Bear.
Bear.
Majority of it's Bear County.
You think so?
Yes,
exactly.
I mean, I'm pretty, well,
Atascosa County starts at this gentleman's house and Angels Farm.
Yeah, the biggest part is in Bear County, just down here at the bottom where Julio has his place, right? Is that right?
Julio would be in Atascosa County.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the biggest inside of Bear.
Yeah, you can pass that
So if-
around.
Now, we all know that anytime we're gonna go ask for money or we're gonna go ask for help from the county or anything, one of the things is they wanna understand the engineering portion of it. So I think it'll probably be good for us to at least be able to get that done, so we kind of have an idea. And then we gotta figure out the source of money, whether it's, just like Charles said, certificate of obligation, or maybe talking to Bear County, to the commissioner, and find out, see if we can get some sort of help out of that area too. But,
Bear County pretty much abandoned it when the city of Lidle annexed it. So that's kind of where we've been caught. I feel, I'm not sure. But Bear County hasn't been out there, I've been out there since '92, and Bear County not done anything.
Council?
Would I be able to add one more thing? It's,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Just one more thing and then I'm all done. One of the concerns I had is about street light, lighting on the road.
Can I answer that?
Sure.
They already approved it. We were gonna, you and I were gonna get together once y'all got approved back here to see where you wanted that light placed.
Oh, okay, okay,
Okay,
but yeah, that's fine,
yeah, they already approved
that's
it.
fine. I did some measurements and so.
Okay, well,
I-
I'll get with you and
That'd be
get
great.
a location and then we'll let CPS.
Well, thanks
know.
for giving me the opportunity to come before you guys and, I appreciate it.
No, thank
My
you,
wife and I
sir.
both do. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Council?
We can, start the engineering.
Engineering was 27,000.
It's gonna exceed that.
12 years ago, it's gonna be a lot more now.
Yeah, no, on the hot mix at the time, they had a cost of 34,500. That's in addition to the 28, well, jumped up 28,750. So that's over $50,000. That's what, 63,000 in 2010. 2008, I'm sorry. We've been messing with this for a long time.
Yeah.
I also have a letter in here from a law firm too. Anybody would like to see that?
Yes, sir.
Tom's talking about hot mix. Most of the county roads around here, I don't know about in the city, but you know, most of them are double seal coat. There's no hot mix involved. Don't know the difference. I drive down them all and I can't tell the difference, but unless somebody here knows why you need to have hot mix, cold mix, or seal coat one versus the other, I don't know. But I know it's way more reasonable than asphalt.
A two-course surface penetration seal coat for this road would be at 2008 prices is $14,375. This office does not recommend this alternative due to the application of a seal coat is purely a maintenance application, not a street rehabilitation or reconstruction. It will not offer a long-term solution to the problems presently experienced by the residents. This is from our engineers.
Okay. All the subdivisions around here are double seal coat and I,
And we understand that,
Okay.
it adds to the developer's profit.
I would say table it until we get some more information. I mean,
What's the first step?
We have a map.
Engineering, we need to figure out what's the engineering.
Yeah, that's-
Who has the map? Is this it?
That's it right there.
Okay.
Yeah, we use that map.
I've been carrying this map around for 12 years.
Smaller than that, 14.
And if we do that, keep in mind, we don't have a turnaround down there probably that meets code.
Right.
So we're gonna have to have a turnaround down there where a fire truck or somebody can turn around, it needs to be paved. So it'll have to be like a cul-de-sac at some point at the back when we do the improvements.
That by,
Mr. Roberts?
20 years ago, I got permission from BMA to build a turnaround down there over the BMA canal, and I built one mainly for the school buses. It was not paved. I built one down right past Julio's driveway. I built a turnaround, which was 100-foot circle with base. And the school bus used it for a long time, and then no more kids rode the school bus, so now no school buses come down the road. I guess, I don't
But
think
they may
there's any school buses.
but they may someday.
Yeah, 'cause you got Southwest ISD out there, you know, as well,
Yeah.
two different school districts.
So anyhow, we made one down there and BMA granted me permission. I don't know that I have it in writing. Southwest ISD approved it. They liked it. They just hypothetical that happened a long time ago as far as the
But
turnaround.
if we do put a new road in, we will need to make sure the back of it meets the code. Otherwise, we're spending a lot of money. We're talking about emergency vehicle access and stuff. And if we're gonna do it right, we need to, make sure we've got enough property to bring it up to code.
Does it magically become a road though, or is it still just gonna be an easement?
Well, I mean, if we're gonna spend a
Not
bunch of.
subject to that.
Should become a
Well,
road.
my opinion would be if we're gonna spend a bunch of taxpayer money on it, then otherwise it's a private drive.
Is there a way that BMA could release that easement so it could become,
I thought it was
so where
property.
the property could,
How much money do you want to pay them?
nothing?
Start mowing.
So,
The first contact
okay,
I
Mr.
had,
Roberts, we got 5 minutes so we can
Go
go
to,
to.
go to the landowners on the east side, see if they'll donate 30 feet, 50 feet, 40 feet, whatever, The landowners own it. You don't have to pay BMA anything for it.
actually, August 10th, 1995, I have a letter from BMA. The Board of Directors of the BMA Water District passed a resolution to permit your client, the city of Lidle, to enforce traffic ordinances on property known locally as Ball Road.
Did that say they owned it?
Well, why did they pass a resolution?
Oh,
As I say, this has been a continuing problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's gonna continue to be for a while.
But we need to go ahead and, we need to figure out and see what we want to do. So, Tom, what would you recommend? What would be the next thing for us to go ahead and do?
Well, this might be a good time, we're talking about a wish list. This might be one of the things that we put on that list.
Do we need to get it engineered before we put on the wish list?
We're gonna have to get it engineered sometime. I don't think I'd incur that cost. I'd wait till
Yeah,
I have the money.
come up with something.
Okay, so council, is there any way I can get a motion for us to go ahead and go down that road?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a second. Any further discussion on this?
That's to add it to the wish list for the certificates.
Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, perfect. Motion carries forward. So that's our next step. Okay?
Thank you.
And go ahead and take that next step with the engineering portion of it, okay? Appreciate it.
Now, may I ask a question? What's the road pretty deplorable right now?
It's not very good shape.
Do we need to get out there and do a little something to tide you over? Because what we're talking about ain't gonna be overnight.
I understand that. May not even come to fruition.
James?
Mr. Morrow, I took him down there the other day, asked him.
We drove down it. I didn't notice any terrible potholes, and didn't you say you filled them 6 months ago? I thought that's what you said.
I
You
don't
said
believe there's
period.
any potholes in the road.
It's just a bunch of
condition the
rocks.
road, yeah.
Yeah, it's like any other dirt road out here, but if we're looking to do this, then let's do it. But it's not in horrible condition, it's just a rock road.
I drive down there regularly and it's just like, you just gotta, you're not gonna be speeding too much.
Well, hey,
Almost hit a
one
telephone
road they
pole
don't
the
speed
other day.
on.
There's speed bumps on it.
Oh, you got it toned.
Yeah. If we can, maybe the next thing to do is maybe the opportunity, if we get a little bit of rain, maybe go out there and take a look at it with the water. See if maybe we can help out with any of that portion of it. So I'm going to get that. Okay, let's go ahead and continue on. F, consider and act upon the usage of city email accounts as primary means of communication, discontinuing usage of personal emails for city business. Frontera, John.
Hello, council. Good to see everyone again. Several months ago, we looked at moving city email accounts from the various personal accounts that everyone uses to some of the Microsoft accounts that are managed under GoDaddy, all being moved to Microsoft proper, so that they could all belong under the Office 365 umbrella, and they could all be administrated and created and or modified through the proper administrative accounts. We were trying to line that up with the renewal for the bulk of those accounts, which is February, March. That process has begun. So we're at a good point for everyone moving to the proper email accounts for the city domain. And that transition is underway right now. So really, we're just talking about the administrative portion of getting everyone who's using the personal email account to start to transition to a City of Lidle email account. And again, that process has begun. Those accounts have been created, the additional accounts that need to be created for the city website and other administrator accounts. Those will happen once the transition is complete, so that the city's not paying for additional email accounts that aren't actually in use until the transition is over.
When are you seeing that, John, for that to happen in the sense of?
In the sense of the accounts syncing and starting to be administered through Microsoft proper, that process has begun. It's usually about a 7 to 10 day process. We're fresh into it, probably 48 hours because we try to time it with the end of the month. So that a billing cycle would begin exactly when the other one ended. And we're doing that now. So that's in process now. And as soon as all those accounts are synced, not completely migrated, but synced, we can start to create additional accounts. And those new accounts will be under Microsoft proper.
And you guys would be able to go into all these different Yahoo accounts or different accounts that we have out there and be able to point them, in other words, go ahead and.
So what will happen on anyone using a personal email account is our recommendation is for them to create an autoresponder that says, my account has been transitioned to a City of Lidle official account. Please start to email that account directly and you'll list that, whatever that new email address is inside your personal account. And so those email will get forwarded there. There won't be a migration from personal accounts to Microsoft because we won't be able to separate what your personal email may have been in that personal account to the new Microsoft City account.
The main thing is that we actually go ahead and use these accounts, just kind of separate on there. Some of these accounts have actually been used for personal reasons, along with professional reasons. We need to make sure that we get them all into the vitaltx.org. Is that correct?
Correct, and we understand that's gonna be a long process. There's, people have been using their personal email addresses for many, many years. But transitioning everything under the VitalTX domain will allow all the other security practices and protocols and safety measures to be implemented. And that means archiving, permanent archiving, that means due diligence research, that means anything the city wants to do going forward for requests for public information and whatnot, you'll have one avenue to do that underneath the Microsoft umbrella.
So when are you looking at, let me ask this, I just want to make sure those that are using them, how much time are you looking at them transitioning? Is it just going to be a clear cut, put the reply, hey, transition to the other account?
Correct. There's a new transition method with Microsoft and your current provider, GoDaddy, so that whatever's happening on the end user side is very simple. There's very little interaction on the end user side for anything that we're doing, except for, let's say, Gmail accounts, Yahoo accounts, AOL accounts if people are still using them. That's a manual process where that user will create an autoresponder. And we've got the dialogue for you. So we'll give the dialogue to every personal user and say, you just create a reply that lets people know your new City of Lidle email address is this.
Okay.
So really, there's no, you gave us permission to do this several months ago, so this is just the administrative portion notifying everyone this is happening right now.
Mayor, if I can, a lot of this came about, we're not talking about using like a personal account. Like, I've got my own personal account. We went to the point where we needed email accounts for people in the city. They created a free Yahoo account. They use it for business. It's not really, I'm also getting my personal email accounts. But that's not a secure email account. We are beginning to get spoofs. We're getting hacks. We need to get out of the Yahoo. Think about it as just open. Anybody can see it. Get everybody into secure email accounts in the LidleTX.org so we can secure and encrypt our stuff.
And you're correct. But unfortunately, we do have some folks that are using.
No, I guess so.
They're using it for personal reasons.
It's just people think that, this is the only one I use for the city. It's a city email. No, it's an unsecured account that you use for city business.
So that's in addition to, you're correct. In addition to just making sure that we have the security.
So John, initially, if like say municipal court's using a Yahoo account, they're gonna have to actually keep that account active for some while because they're gonna need access to records in there. So some of these employees, for a while, they're gonna have to we had when we switched to the LidleTX.org, we went from the Lidle SBC Global or whatever we originally had. So we had to keep those for a while because we had a lot of data on them.
That's correct. And so our recommendation would be for those accounts, and again, we have the dialogue for them. Two things will happen. They'll get an autoresponder that replies to people and says, this is the new email address. And then aside from an autoresponder, there'll be a forwarder. So any new email coming into that account will get forwarded to the new one. Now, there may be objections there if people have been using those Yahoo accounts for personal business, right? Because Yahoo won't be able to tell
Which one is which?
which one is which. So
Sometimes it's better just to give the notification that it's changed.
So, right, so in some cases, we'll just have an autoresponder, right? In other cases, we will be able to have both an autoresponder and a forwarder. But that's available right now, so it's already in play and we can start to distribute the autoresponder dialogue tomorrow.
So anything you need from us, or is this just basically informational purposes?
Just informational
Is
purposes.
there gonna be any fees that the city's gonna have to pay for this?
So the city's already paying for the email accounts under GoDaddy, and that cost is gonna be transitioned to Microsoft. The cost should be the same.
What is Microsoft, what did you call it?
Office 365.
Oh,
Yeah, right. So it's gonna look exactly the same to you.
Okay.
The additional cost may come if, let's say, we add new email accounts that weren't under GoDaddy. So as we move over and we decide, oh, we need another email account for X, then there's an additional charge there.
The ones out of the website, those are taken care of, right?
Those I'll be working with Matt on, but he's got the access for whatever email accounts are on the website. And that's just us going into those and changing them to whatever they should be.
Once we get the new ones established.
Yeah. And we won't do that until the transition's over.
I'll be included. Okay, any questions? If I can get a motion for no action on this item?
I'm going to take no action there.
Okay, got no action? Okay. Got a second, any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you so much. Okay, here we go, John. Next one, consider an act G, consider an act on establishing internet access at community center.
So also several months ago, we were asked to look at providers for internet access at community centers. Initially, the idea was for any emergency services that had to happen at the community center, we wanted some kind of transport to be available so that if there were more than 20 to 30 or 40 or 50 people there would be internet access to provide to a group of people under those emergency services. So the second part of that was we wanted it to be a different provider than AT&T, so that if an AT&T circuit was cut, the community center would still have internet access through some other means. Initially, when we got our first bid from the other provider, they had given us hard costs of somewhere in the vicinity of $3,500 for the construction that was necessary, and then an ongoing $150 a month for 50 megs by 8 megs. Somewhere in that process, after a revisit to the construction necessary to cross over the road in front of the community center, that cost changed from $3,500 to $16,500. So comparing the two costs from that provider and going back to AT&T for a similar upload speed of 50 meg over a 36-month period, those costs are almost identical, a little higher for the other provider than AT&T by about $1,000 over a 36-month period. So now the question is, the upfront cost to go with a cable provider to the community center is about $17,000, $16,500 plus other additional onboarding fees, versus the monthly from AT&T, somewhere in the vicinity of $580. And that transport would be a 50 meg by 50 meg, and 50 meg down by 50 meg up. The transport from the cable provider would be 50 meg down by 8 meg up. So just from a data perspective and emergency services, our recommendation would be AT&T. Initially, we were recommending have a different transport provider altogether, but the upfront costs at this point probably make that a moot point. So we'll fall back on the provider that is giving transport to the rest of the city. What we'll lose, the con is if some connection gets cut somewhere else in the city for AT&T, it's very possible the community center will also lose internet. That's the con. The pro is the transport itself, the bandwidth available in case of an emergency is way beyond what the cable provider could do. It's synchronous at 50 by 50. So that's what you would want in an emergency scenario. That's the crux of all the data. It points to, well, what would we use it for? It's not for day-to-day use, it's for an emergency. So if we had 50 people in the community center and we wanted immediate access to bandwidth, the choice would be AT&T. That would be the clear choice. So that's our recommendation.
So council, the funding portion of it, this is, on both sides has changed in the sense of being able to look at opportunities. The monthly cost too that goes along with that, I remember with the ComZoom portion was about $147 a month that we were looking at.
Correct.
But, and that's still the same, but the upfront costs actually changed drastically. The areas that we were looking at, just because it took us a while to go through this process, another company took over the utility poles, so they couldn't bring it across. They have to go underneath the road. That's the reason why the cost actually went higher. So I think where we're at right now, the costs are a lot higher, even to myself, as I expected. To look at this area, you're looking at about $590. Is that correct?
Correct.
On a monthly basis with AT&T
Correct.
to be able to have the 50 by 50 into that facility.
Now that's for a 36-month agreement. AT&T is offering the same discount on a 24-month agreement. So if there was a plan B, and I was gonna offer it, I would say, well, if we only had to commit for 24 months, to come back and revisit if there was another chance of a third provider or even ComZoom again, revisiting it, we wouldn't be under a 36-month commitment with AT&T. We could do 24 months and the cost would basically stay the same.
So we're looking about 14,160. I'm doing on that right. Yeah, about 14 grand for the 2 years.
Correct. And so you're way under the ComZoom quote at that point. Right, we're way ahead if we go with the 24 month.
Council, I just asked for consideration. I would like us, if, with your understanding, that for us to consider this option for the new budget, for us to look at the numbers when we start talking in May about the new budget for next year. I don't think, Josie, I don't think we have the funds to be able to absorb this right now. Is that correct?
Mm-mm.
So for your consideration, if we can take this amount and put it towards our budget, great research, appreciate it, John.
And I'm gonna, if I can add to that,
Yes.
something to consider also is the equipment at the community center.
Yes.
Right, which we can't, no one can quote yet because we don't know what the handoff will be from AT&T or where the actual drops and whatnot will be, but there'll be other equipment needed at the community center that will belong to you to deliver wireless, to deliver the internet.
It wasn't that much.
It's not, it's maybe 1,500 in equipment and whatever the cable provider would charge to run cable to the front of the building for the wireless access point that would transmit to the other building across the road.
Yeah, what we're trying to do is just bring it into the community center, and then we're gonna do wireless into the senior venture, in the back, so we don't have to hardwire that building. It would automatically really have that. I think we'll do that, correct?
Yep, that's correct.
So, council, if, for your consideration, I ask if we could do a motion for us to go ahead and, just take the information and put it towards the budget when we have that discussion in May.
Yeah, I move that we table this until we can consider put it in the budget for this year.
Okay?
Second that.
Second, any further discussion?
One question, John. How much usage do we get out of that internet over there at the community center?
On a day-to-day basis, what will you?
Yeah, monthly, I mean, I see that, we have dollar amounts for monthly usage.
Well, right now, it's nothing, but the reason it was being done was for emergency purposes,
Yeah,
since it was made the alternate emergency management.
is there an alternate? Can we get Starlink? Can we get a hotspot? Are there other means that, we're spending $14,000 over whatever, 2 years?
Right.
Is there something that we can spend $100 and that still suffice sort of deal?
Well, we've tried that, right? In a particular instance, municipal court had one employee there who needed to connect back to the court. And so their PC there was connecting back to the court over a VPN. And we were using a hotspot to do that, but it's really, at that point, it's 1 or 2 users, right? That's all that a hotspot can
And it
absorb.
didn't work very well
And
either.
it didn't work very well, right? Because it's based on cellular coverage in that area.
Another,
The other possibility was also for usage for other folks if we hosted. I mean, we've had events over there or hosted people over there and trying to be able to bring up, be able to connect, whether we're doing it remotely.
even if it's people you're leasing the thing, you're renting the thing to, everybody's over there. There's a lot of stuff they're using requires internet access. I mean, you could even, that's a lot like understanding in a hotel. You get in, now almost any place you go, you're gonna get internet, and it would be a selling point on a facility. Because obviously we're not gonna be using it that much for emergencies. You might not use it once every 2 or 3 years.
Hopefully never.
And maybe never.
Now, we do facilitate some of those wireless services that are resold by their community centers. And the equipment that you would purchase to support that 50 meg connection can be throttled to resell, right? That information can be a revenue source.
Be able to do that. Yes.
What about using like Rise, maybe putting two antennas on the building so you don't overload one? And I know that they've just upgraded the Natalia hub with fiber, and they're looking to bring in speeds of 100 down right now.
You're
into
talking
this
about
area.
a satellite,
Rise Internet, Rise
Line of
broadband.
sight.
Yeah.
Line of sight.
Line of sight. I mean, I'm pulling right now on a 25 meg package. I'm pulling 50 to 60 at my house.
Sure.
They're upgrading. They just added a new tower in the area, and they've upgraded the hub with fiber in Italia. And they're looking to be able to provide 100 down and 10 up, 15 up.
Rise.
Rise broadband.
So
And it would be, I pay $70 a month.
the problem is the technology, right? And the purpose that you're allocating the community center for, which is emergency services, right? And so that service has to be dependable, it has to be broadband, it has to be synchronous. Anything that's line of sight or dish has a huge lag time. There's the data may state 50 down, but what is the upload, right? And so if those 50 emergency service providers need to all of a sudden connect VoIP services, or if they're accessing secure sites, or if they're downloading and uploading images of disaster scenarios, you won't be able to do that.
Yeah, that one is more compromised with bandwidth. It's a lot easier to slow that one down so it's a valid point. I know we looked at all that. We looked at all, and I know the technology has changed, but we were looking at opportunities to have the most secure in case we needed it. I always go back to the time that Richie had to host all these CPS folks because our gas went out. And you had all those vehicles over there and they're trying to operate. So
And that's the scenario we built around. What happens when we have 20 to 30 CPS workers or police and fire, and everybody's congregated in one area? And as soon as you start to do that, line of sight or satellite or cellular service, you can't use it for that. There's just, the pipe is too small. You may be downloading, if I was gonna use an analogy of filling a bucket of water, you'll be able to fill it. It'll be going at the same speed, but the size of the pipe is a 1-inch pipe versus a 10-inch pipe, right? That's the difference. How much water is traveling it versus what's the size of the pipe. And so true fiber, like what AT&T's offering here, where it's at 5550 to download and upload, in an emergency scenario with 50 to 60 people, that's what you want. That's the most dependable and the best bandwidth for what they may be doing in an emergency scenario.
appreciate it. Okay, so any further discussion? You got the motion second for us to table it for the budget. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, we covered it. Can we move on, last one, the T?
Yes, I actually,
Jerry, just, he is here for that.
I got it right
Oh,
there.
okay.
I got it right there. I'm gonna try to take care of, we got two that are here, and then we can go ahead and take care of those two on there. So, you have a motion for us to go ahead and move T up?
I'll second that.
Okay, got a second? Okay, so let's go ahead and take care of this, then we're gonna go ahead and take care of H, because I know we got folks here too, to take care of that. So, Judge, come on up, we're gonna go ahead and move on to T on here. So T is consider and act upon hiring part-time help for the court.
Just as everybody stated, our city is growing and our citations are growing. Our courts are growing. And so we only have one clerk that does all the paperwork. It's not just paperwork that she does. She has to do reports. She has to get ready for the court. She has to supply us with all the stuff that we're gonna need for the court. And her job is getting a little bit overwhelming. So what we're requesting is either a part-time person, and I don't know what our budget is. This budget session, I'm gonna come over and see what it is, 'cause I kind of have gotten neglected and not been invited over here for the budget, but I am gonna come over here for the court budget. And we need to find out, if we can hire a person to help Ms. Salazar, that she's really getting overwhelmed with, and like I said, even 4 hours, but the person has to be dedicated to her for at least 4 hours a day. But if we need her for 8 hours, I don't know what like I said, I don't know what our budget is for hiring personnel, but we do need another person before we lose the one we have.
Roger that. Josie,
I
you
did-
got the money?
I did talk, no, we don't have the money, we have to amend the budget.
Okay.
I did talk with the court clerk, she seems to think a part-time will take care of it. And she says, who knows, before it's all said and done, then if they get caught up, then she wouldn't be using the part-timer. But for now, a part-timer is needed.
Okay.
Paula's been helping her a little bit, but once Paula gets going with me, that's gonna
Paula's
keep her
out.
away from it.
Paula's gonna be out. So we do need, we do
Yeah,
need.
so I did talk with her, and at the very least, we need a part-timer right now.
Do you have a rough estimate about how much you're looking at?
No, I don't, but, can we work at trying to get a part-timer, and I can work up some numbers, and I will tell you, and y'all know from my reports that I've sent y'all, that our sales tax is doing really well this year, so the amendment would come from there. We're gonna amend that upwards, and then we also, I'd say at the very least, well, we're about halfway through the year, I would say 10,000 to get us through the rest of the year.
I make a motion that we go ahead and let Josie work the numbers up. And,
Well, I,
Up to 10,000?
yeah,
well, I'd like permission to advertise for a part-timer.
okay,
That's the main thing I need right now.
then that will be in my, motion.
Not to exceed the 10,000?
Yeah.
Okay. For this fiscal year, right, Josie?
Yeah, because we got a little bit more, well, by the time we get her or him on board, it would be about half of the budget ready to go.
I second. If nobody else does.
Okay. Any further discussion on that?
Does anybody have any questions of me? We'll do the best we can with what we have. I mean, but our courts have been growing. Sometimes the doctor says to this place is full, we have to have people outside. We have to bring chairs in.
Yeah, I saw that.
Well, Judge, you guys have been doing a great job too with balancing, with being able to get folks in here, not with COVID protocol and everything else.
Community center wasn't really that great because the other person was saying our internet service wasn't that great. We would lose connection all the time. And we couldn't take money because we would lose.
Yeah, because you want to do the transaction.
We can only do one thing at a
Yeah,
time.
you
and
don't
it
want,
would
you
not
don't
work.
want them walking out. I totally understand. Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Judge, I appreciate it. Okay, let's take care of one more, and then we'll go ahead and take the break, because we do have some folks. H, consider and act upon contract for emergency management plan with Maura Aldrich. Maura, come on up. And I think Josie,
Did you guys pass out
think,
copies of the contract?
Was I sent the contract?
Get to you and Tom.
I got it.
Yeah,
You did? Okay. When
okay, okay,
Tom, do you have yours so I can make copies?
so,
Yes, I do have some, have it somewhere.
Tom, is there anything that you had?
Well, there's quite a few things in the proposed contract that needs to be cleaned up, some of the things, there's an assumption that we're gonna know what we're talking about with the annexes. And anyways, there's things that need to be cleaned up. I mean, there's a template. I mean, I understand what's going on. There's a template for the emergency management plan, correct? And there's a bunch of annexes. And, this is what we're talking about on the annexes. But the template itself is not attached to the contract. The annexes are not attached. The annexes that were left off or omitted, they're not attached. So you really don't know what you're talking about as far as what we're agreeing to on the scope of the work.
So it's no sense in me making a copy for him because it's incomplete?
Well, that's my opinion. I mean, you can still make a copy for them.
Okay.
So getting access to the template is something that once I get an email, an official email, then I will have access to the state's templates. These annexes, nothing is omitted. This is all for the basic plan. Once we get to the intermediate plan and the advanced plan, the other annexes come into play. So this is what it requires to be a basic plan. And
Well, I mean,
the titles of each of the annexes are there.
They're not attached. It's kind of like that contract, Mayor, that we were talking about with, the cable company. You know, when we went back in and had to look at everything that he's referring to. When you refer to something in the contract, I mean, I don't think that you should agree to it unless you know what you're talking about. If you have those annexes in front of you so that you can talk about it.
But aren't those the annexes that she's gonna create? I mean,
Yes.
No, they're already created. They're already created. They're part of the template. Matt provided the template from TDM, last time that we talked about this.
I provided one from, it was another city,
Sample.
a sample that I pulled from
Yeah,
there.
different.
But it was from TDM.
I'm assuming, no, I don't know, it came from that city. I'm assuming it was probably approved by TDM because that's who they all
Yeah,
go
it has
through.
to go through.
I understand what you're saying, Tom. The only thing is, I think what we're asking her to do is to create the annexes. So
No, the annexes are part of the template.
The
What's
annexes are
required?
available online through TDM's website. Every single annex that's on TDM's website.
isn't the annex created
No, I
specifically
mean,
for the
it's-
local area?
Yes, it is.
It's basically an outline that you go in and you plug in the information. That's it.
That's a very simplified version, yes.
Well,
It's much more complicated than that, but yeah.
I don't agree with you. I don't agree that it's overly complicated. I spoke to, the district coordinator
Tony
out of
Gross?
San Antonio, Tony
Tony Gross,
Rose.
yep.
And, he told me that TDM would look at our plans for free. So my question is, whose plan are we currently using right now on this?
The county probably.
And-
Correct.
And what is wrong with Atascosa County's emergency management plan?
Actually, the plan that we're currently using, I don't have it here with me, but it's a binder that is held.
1992.
We do have a local plan.
So, but we're using Atascosa's plan right now?
No, we have our own.
Well, okay,
We're not really using anybody's.
there's debate on that. We've got a plan.
But we're
But
covered under
the
our.
old
from
emergency management
1992.
director in Atascosa County came over and got our previous mayor to sign off saying basically we would now fall under Atascosa County and they would be it, unbeknownst to what he was signing possibly. But I can tell you, Atascosa County's plan has got names on there that haven't worked in the county for probably 15, 20 years.
Right, yeah.
Theirs is not digitized. You can go pull, I've seen it. You can go pull a binder out.
Well, I interned with Atascosa Emergency Management, so I've seen it as well, and that emergency manager has since passed, so we have a new one, and I've already communicated with him, I will be working directly with him, on this plan, because we do need to mirror their plan, which mirrors the state's plan, that's kind of how it all works with creating emergency management plans.
My understanding is that we had our own, I wish I would have brought the binders, I could have showed you, I could look at the back, there might be one over here. But it was a 1-inch binder,
7, 8 sheets in it, maybe with some phone numbers that were all
but
out
that's
Yeah,
basically
very
our
outdated.
responsibility to be able to take care of it, and we hadn't updated it for years. So.
That's why
it was-
Mayor Fincher signed into being covered by Atascosa County's plan.
But not everybody we didn't all get told this, man. That's.
I just started finding all this
Yeah,
out
we
myself.
didn't know that.
Once again, I asked the question and I was told back then when we started this process from Atascosa that we needed to come up with our own plan.
No, we do.
We do.
We do need our own plan.
Well, that's not
It won't
necessarily
work.
correct.
Well, we
That's
don't
not
need our own
correct,
plan.
Because
No,
CCAM
I'll go either way.
says we can join with another agency and operate under this plan.
Which is what we currently are partially doing with Atascosa County.
Right.
Tony told me today, he said that the only time that you need to have your own plan is if you're getting an emergency management coordinator, if you're hiring it. So if you want, say if we want to hire an emergency management coordinator, then we need our own plan. Otherwise, we're under Atascosa counties. That's what the district coordinator told me this afternoon before I came over here.
So is the mayor, would the mayor be the emergency management coordinator, or would it be the Atascosa County Fire Marshal?
I mean, I think that the mayor could appoint him, if the emergency management team could say, hey, this is what we're gonna go with.
So,
No, we filed with the mayor here. He signed off and we are back
I
under
am
our.
listed up to the state level
From
right
what I
now.
gathered.
I did all this research, and Charles, I wish you would have called me first before you brought it in here. We could have talked about this. It is my responsibility to do that. I went out, I asked, I talked to the state, I talked to the county. They came back and they told me that we have to do our own here at the local level, the way that we're set up. And that's the reason why we included it in the budget. When we did it in May, last year, and we said that we needed to go ahead and start going down this road. So that's the reason that we established this. We're at a point right now where we already have something in front of it, and if we need to go ahead and coordinate it, or we need to make some adjustments to make it work for us, then let's go ahead and make the adjustments that need to work for us. But from my understanding, as your emergency management coordinator, is that we need to have something at the local level. And I've talked to the different levels, unless the state changed.
Yeah, I've got, this is from TML. Each city is required to maintain its own emergency management agency or participate in a local interjurisdictional emergency management agency. And that's why they say to piggyback onto the county.
Totally understand. I asked that question. They came back that the way that we're set up is that we're supposed to do one locally. That's how it's
I
communicated.
think when they say that, they mean that we can adopt their plan. We don't have to create our own plan. We adopt their plan.
And I would highly recommend your own local, since we are in 3 different counties, so it does kind of muddy the water as far as when emergencies happen. But yeah, I mean,
So council, ask you for your consideration on that, for us to go ahead, and if we need to do some work. It's obvious that whether it's at the county, or the way that we're actually set up, or the way that we're currently set up, in the sense of having our own binder, that we're outdated. We're not where we need to be. We need to go ahead and get it fixed. So I think it's more appropriate for us to go ahead and do it at our level and get something set up that is unique to us, that the county might not be able to understand. We have unique circumstances that could happen in here that in other places might not mirror for the things that we actually have. Great opportunity for us to use local to set it up, where we can go ahead and figure out the transportation needs, the different things that we need to do based on the scenarios that we're gonna have or that could happen in here. So for your consideration,
Mayor, what unique situations are gonna arise in Wyoming?
railroad,
Are we the only city with the railroad running through town or something?
that's not the question. The question is that we have a derailment. Where is the transportation gonna come from? Who do you have your working agreement set up to go ahead? That's all set up as part of that. Is that correct? Anything that you try to figure out. We have a chemical, some leak in here. Where is our designated areas? Where do we have the working agreements that they're gonna house our folks, whether it's residential or maybe our kids from the school? All those things, there's interlinks that you have to be able to establish. And that's part of putting the agreement together.
I don't
Well,
know.
what's the downside to us having an emergency action plan?
the only downside is you have to maintain it every 5 years. Is that a downside? I don't think so, coming from emergency management.
Do you think we're unique enough to kind of speak to the discussion we're having here?
Absolutely.
Being up in the panhandle of Atascosa County, unique enough that we need to have our own plan?
I would highly recommend it. When an emergency happens, regardless of how unique we think we are, we want to be able to, we've already got to have our introductions made. We don't wanna be shaking hands the day that hell breaks loose. And so by doing this, we're ensuring the next time we have a freeze and lose power in most of our city, that we've got those connections, everything's already established, we have something in writing that this is who we're going to get, fuel, this is who we're going to use for a generator, this is, things like that, so I highly recommend it.
Tom, if we pass tonight, this item, what do we have to do to get to where we need to be as far as your concerns are?
Oh, well, I'd have to go back through, I just don't think that the contract that's presented is complete. That's the main thing, David, I don't know, and.
But we can get there from here.
Yeah, sure, we can get there from here.
Okay.
I just don't, yeah.
Is it a rewrite of the contract, amendments to the contract?
Yes, just clean it up a little bit if you want to use this contract.
So we talking a couple weeks to rewrite the contract in coordination with Kimura?
Yes.
All right. I move that we do that. I move that we press ahead with getting the contract ready to do our own emergency action plan.
Okay, a motion on the floor,
I'll second.
got a second?
You just look at it and stuff.
Further discussion?
We're not committing until we sign the contract.
Right, but we wanna see it.
So if Tom can get us to where we have an agreement here, present the contract to us and we'll vote on it again.
Okay.
When do you bring it back in 2 weeks?
Well, when Tom's done with it, we're not gonna hold his feet to 2 weeks. but- So the word on here is emergency, so I'm sure you're gonna get all over
No,
it.
I understand that, I just,
Contract ready.
we've had, yes, you're right, David, we just get it.
Can you repeat your motion again?
I move that our city attorney work with Kimura to come up with a contract that they can agree upon, that can be presented to the council for us to vote on getting our own emergency manager. Thank you. Kimura, if it's on-
Second one, okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Nay. One nay. Okay. Thank you, council, I appreciate that. Appreciate it. Okay, it's 8:28, let's go ahead and take a quick 5-minute break, and we'll go ahead and continue after that with item I. Thank you.
That's it.
Oh, so you got 2 clocks, okay. I'll see you soon.
Hopefully, audio.
Hopefully it's not as busy as yesterday. They were until like 6 o'clock. That's because Matt keeps giving all those answers. Right, hey, dear, it's your fault. Blame it on him.
I know, everybody blames stuff on me. I don't care. I'm gonna mute this just so nobody can
Please go over it.
Okay,
It's not simply. She wants a bunch of old ones, half of them.
all right, Josie, if you can show us at 8:34, 8:30, I'm sorry, 8:39. Back. Go ahead and continue on with I. We have considered act upon nominations for a 2021 Annual Citizenship Award. So, Josie, we had a deadline for Friday.
Yes, sir, I didn't receive any but yours.
Okay, so you have a nomination in here, want to pass on?
The one I had, people.
I didn't see anything, but I second this one.
Oh, okay.
Well, I can't make the motion, so you guys make the motion, so.
I want to nominate Scott Morgan.
Okay, I
Is
got
that
a
a
motion.
motion?
Yes, nominate Scott
I'll
Morgan.
second that.
So it's here.
I'm
He's retiring this year.
entirely appropriate.
Okay, so I got a second, further discussion. Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Same. Nay.
Sam, was it in?
I was about taking one.
Okay,
Well,
Keep them to yourself.
All right.
all right. Okay, so Jay, consider an act upon eligibility nomination for annual citizenship award. We all remember Charles went ahead and gave us a handout and asked us to go ahead and take a look at that, see if there was any additions or any changes that we wanted to do based on that. I think the only thing, do you have a handout?
I don't have a handout this time. I think I might have the ones from last time in the car.
I think the only thing, Charles, that we talked about adding on there was the timeline. In the sense of making a change with the timeline of when the submissions were. Is that correct, council? We were talking about a certain time to get it in, so we would actually have the name released by a certain period of time.
So it can be done before the first of the year,
Mhm.
so we talked about.
and when they're gonna be like that, done in November, December?
That's correct. I think that,
We want to have them in by the end of October? Or-
yes, that's correct.
So October 31st then?
Yes, sir. If you guys recall, what Charles did is, it's not only an individual, but we had different categories, right? So,
Yes, that's correct.
so,
We're gonna create more than one, what is it?
Yeah, it was for like a youth, adult, and a group. And then we were everyone on the council was gonna nominate someone to serve on the committee. And they would review all the submissions throughout the year. I mean, they gotta be in by October 31st, but that's not to say someone can't, be submitted in January, February. I think what the,
I thought y'all were gonna name them at the end of December.
well, yeah, but I'm just saying that, okay, deadline is so you can submit it for next year because we can retain those names for up to a year. I think that's what the verbiage says in there.
that's
So
correct.
October 31st, deadline for submissions.
Yeah, we wanted those 2 months to get the committee together and for them to go ahead and make that recommendation to us.
So who's gonna be on the committee, appoint somebody or?
We would appoint somebody. Yeah, each of you would appoint somebody to be part of that committee.
And this will be for 2022, we're gonna adopt this new
Correct.
format. Do we want to have our committee submissions in next month then, or
Does it need to be that soon, since we're not gonna be doing it until October?
yeah, whenever, I mean, we can just think about it in a couple months and come back. I guess Jerry, now, so whenever, after the election, after the election. get some things done there.
Call the committee.
Those, New citizenship awards.
Could you
Yeah, we're not gonna be able to keep that name, people are gonna do several.
Well, I think we talked about, and we can allow the committee to also help us out with that. We talked about we could still use James, like for the individual one. Or maybe for the other ones, we can come up with other names for the other categories.
Yeah, Daniel McGrath,
Yeah.
Citizen of the Year. I don't know.
Well, we could have one for Danny McGrath that, and maybe y'all wanna create some others. I mean, there's people that we've lost since Danny that maybe some people, like, one comes to my mind, Mr. Farmer. Yeah,
Oh, there you go.
Jeffrey Farmer.
There you
for
go.
youth. That's an excellent
Yeah.
idea.
There you go.
That would really honor the farmer's family.
Yeah.
That's good idea, Joseph.
He was in a car accident when he was a baby.
He was like, was he about 4? It was in 1975. I know
Very
that.
young.
He was an infant, yeah, he was really.
Quite a while.
Yeah, that would be a great, yeah, definitely.
That's a wonderful idea, Joseph.
And then, so there's one more category, but we can brainstorm those possibilities. So that way we can keep the names that we actually have based on the different categories.
Or if you even, Camino Real, they do a lot of stuff for the community as well as, to honor them for what the service they provide. So not only a lot of them, really all of South Texas, yeah, pretty good ethic jobs. Just a thought.
And I'm trying to remember the verbiage, Charles. The verbiage allows ourselves pretty much flexibility with that, right?
I believe so, and I can double check, we can bring it back. Let's implement this, and then I think Flower Mound or whoever I got this from, they had a link embedded where people could click. I don't know if we wanted to do that, where people could submit their nominations online. And,
So the nominations for the
citizen-
actual citizenship award, is that gonna come from the committee or is it gonna be done online by?
The committee, like, any citizen can submit a nominee.
To the committee.
To the committee, and the committee will review everyone that's been submitted to decide.
Okay.
So, I can implement that, the October 31st deadline, and then bring back draft if anybody sees anything else. We got a little bit of time, got a couple months, 3 months or so.
You wanna just,
Table it till, what's that, meeting in May.
Table the May meeting,
This-
first meeting in May?
Saturday, or the second meeting in May. Till May, I move that we table this item until May 23rd.
got a motion on the floor for us to go ahead and table it?
Second.
Okay, got a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Okay, Kate, consider and act upon hiring Atascosa County tax collector to collect the city taxes.
Well, I haven't gotten anything. You saw that I copied you on the email. I have not gotten anything back from them, other than that guy's still looking into it. But I think if we keep putting it off, we're gonna get that timeline moved even further back. So I really think we need to just bite the bullet and say, we're gonna transition over, we're gonna allow them to do that and pay the money for it. And that way, if they can move up the timeline, great. If they can't, well, but we need to move on because every time we keep putting it off, there's a possibility of moving that timeline back.
I make a motion that we act upon hiring the Atascosa County tax collector to collect the city taxes.
Okay, got a motion on the floor?
Okay,
And,
okay, Hiram.
yeah,
And if y'all remember, it was 31,500. And then, just a little bit of a fee that Atascosa County will charge us. True Automation or Harris Government will charge us 31.5 because they'll be doing the actual transitioning with the computers and stuff.
It will be to our benefit, though.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I'll second.
Okay, got a second? Discussion?
Will they be offering residents the ability to pay their city taxes here like they do out for the school district? I know they go out to the JP's office. Are there any talks where?
Oh, well, if it, that is a,
if people want to pay, you know, because now you
I
can
mean,
here.
yeah, I'm sure that, that would be available to them because that's an extra office for the county. So I'm sure that they would be collecting our taxes as well out there. I don't see why they wouldn't.
Isn't the school,
The school is doing it with them as well. That, our tax bill will appear on the county tax bill along with the schools and the FM market, and the water district
Josie,
tax.
you've been talking to the computer guys. Have you talked to the
Oh, yeah.
Atascosa about getting the agreement?
No, but she said work out the details with True Automation and then we'll go along with it.
Yeah, I had an opportunity to talk to Ms. Holly last week, and I asked her, you know, how's this thing work? And she said, ask me for a contract, and we'll send a contract. They have a blanket contract form that they've used for all the cities that they're doing right now.
Well, I guess I'll call her for that, but she told me to go to True Automation first about transitioning and the fees it would be.
Yeah. She said, get the contract and then they work on the transition. So,
Okay, she told me to reverse. She said, get
Okay.
the prices. I guess she did that because 31,500 is not chump change, and I guess she wanted us to know in case we didn't want to go along with them. But she told me to go to True Automation.
Now, we're gonna be saving on the software cost per annual, right?
Well, yeah, you know, it's, if we figure in about 2 years' time, we'll get it back. Cause it's about 15,000 a year right now for them to host that right now. And support it.
Yeah, one of what she said, it's a pretty easy process to get started. She said, just, you know, they'll change the names on the contract and make it LEGO instead of Fortifi
Okay.
and
Well,
send
as
us
soon
a
as
contract.
y'all say we can do it, I'll get her to bring and get the contract going, but she told me to go to True Automation so I could get prices for y'all first.
It'd be good to check with her again. Yeah.
Okay.
So item 9, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any
Basically,
opposed?
she said their part was nothing, and we approved the transitioning fees.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. There you go, Joseph. Okay, L, consider and act upon having water and wastewater rate study done. Charles?
Josie included something in the email that went out. I just don't see it in this packet.
I didn't put anything in the packet. I had given you and I talked with the mayor about, we did have a study done by the Texas Rural Water Association
Yeah, it was like.
about 4 years ago. It was in 2018, July of 2018 is when he presented it. At that time, he told the council that, I don't even remember what the sewer was, but the water minimum would need to be raised by about $33. I would have to say that with everything that we're going through and we're gonna be going through, that is gonna be a lot higher. But, and my recommendation to council is, Texas Rural Water Association does these studies for cities under population 10,000 at no cost. I would recommend to council that in view of everything that's going on with us and what's gonna be going on with us, what we see in our future, that we, contact them to do another study for us. Because back then, we didn't know what we know now. And, you know, they'll do it at no charge. They'll come and present it
And
to
this
council.
is who?
Texas Rural Water Association.
Did I make a motion that we go ahead and go to Texas Rural Water to do the study? We're under 10,000, so it'll be free.
I'll second that, Jerry.
Yeah, second. Okay, the discussion, Josie, I'm trying to remember, but do we need to be members of that?
No, we don't. But I will talk with them about get the actual fees, because nobody's really gotten them to me, and I'll have it on the next agenda. I think it's in our best interest to be part of it. I know our guys, the only thing we paid through the last few years is registration fees for our guys to take courses with them. I don't know if those courses would be lower if we'd be members. I suspect they might be, but I'd kind of like to be able to get in touch with them.
Why do I remember you telling me something about 2,000 a year?
I think you and I discussed, and somebody was supposed, I think James was gonna give me I think it's based on the number of meters, am I
That's
not?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Some reason.
Uh,
Okay, let us know. Any other further discussion? Okay. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, thank you. And consider an act upon election contract with Atascosa Bear and Medina counties for election services.
Okay, y'all have two contracts. I did not get the one from there. We still have some time. These are basically the same ones that we approved back in 2020. As I mentioned to y'all before, the county, neither one of the counties, normally Atascosa County will bow out of the even numbered years because of the elections that are being held, the primaries and what have you. Normally we would get Medina County to do this election for us, but they have bowed out as well because they have a constitutional amendment election May 7th. However, they've said that we can get on their ballot, just like we did back in 2020 with our election. And that's what these contracts are about. And let me look here. The estimate for, from Medina County is $2,500. And Atascosa is a little bit more than that. A bit more than that.
Yeah, if I remember, Josie, they had mentioned,
7796.80. So we're talking about over 10,000 right there. I would venture to say that Bear County could probably be close to 2,000. So.
the main thing is them just having the extra machines to be able to concentrate on it. But since they have to run their own elections in their regular locations, they don't have the flexibility to be able to just concentrate down here. So they're pretty much all in the same boat, especially Atascosa and Medina. Is that correct, Josie? Is that-
Well, Atascosa doesn't have enough machines to go around, so they've always been a no in even numbered years. Medina County always obliged to send, but with his constitutional amendment on the 7th, he said he would not have the machines to be able to do that. So he was the one that recommended that we get on each ballot for each of the counties.
Other than that, council?
And Tom, did you get a chance to look at those contracts?
I did not.
You did not. Okay. And tell me they're the same ones we had back in 2020.
You wanna do a conditional approval, council, based on Tom's review?
I'll make that motion to do it.
Contingent upon Tom's approval.
Okay. I'll second. Okay. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, thank you so much, appreciate that. Okay, the next item on the agenda. Just grab one and pass it down. Next one is N, consider an act upon the purchase of Quick Connects for the water and wastewater facilities. So what being passed out is a quote that Matt actually got for us, just so we can kind of have an idea. If you go to the second page, third page, you'll see on there, it has the water well and it has the wastewater plant on there. So when you add each location, it's approximately about $6,700. There's not one location in there, but based on the contingency about the same amount, it's about 67. So you're looking at about 20,400. In last year's budget, we put down 22,500 for us to be able to do these quick connects. Now, on a side note, the two that are mandatory that we have to get done by July of this year, based on TCEQ guidance, is we gotta do the water well, and we have to do the booster. Those are the ones that we need to do. We had already programmed and getting free on the budget, so that's the reason why we wanna go ahead and do the wastewater, along with the booster station and the water well. So those would be the three. So, about 20,400 approximately, right around there, based on that. And these are the same, by the way, Matt, we went out to Ronnie Brown and we asked him if he could put them together, but it was, one, he didn't have the time, and if I remember correctly, the cost would be even more.
Yeah, he said this is, in talking to him and this is probably the cheapest way to do it. They mirror another panel next to ours, and they got a chain, and you flip this one on, this one stays locked down. Vice versa, you switch the power off, flip generator power on once you plug in a generator.
You just roll the generator.
It's the cheapest way to do it. It's actually really cheap. There's no automatic switches, no nothing. Since we got to be there to plug the generator in anyways, we can manually shut a switch
Standard
off.
connections on the generator?
It'd be a standard connection from those big generators. We run the cable from generator into that box.
Yeah.
Flip this one off, flip this one on.
Yeah, last time Ronnie actually created its own panel and rigged it on there just to make it work for us out at the booster station. We were pretty fortunate that CPS was able to keep the well going for us at that time. But it was part of the budget. It's something we need to do. Like I said, at a minimum, we got to do those 2 sites by July, but we were budgeted for 3. It'll help us out with the cost if we just knock out the 3 main. And that's our first tier. The second tier, just for refresher, the second tier is police station, city hall, and the community center. Those are the next 3 buildings based on the tier system that we have.
So you need a motion for 3?
I need a motion for 3.
I make the motion that we approve the purchase and installation of these quick connects on the 3 mentioned sets.
I'll second that.
Have a second. All those, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you so much, appreciate that. Okay, closed session, consultation with attorney concerning cause number 22-02-0062, CBA, Rachel, so Tom,
Yes,
how do you actually cover the ET8L
at all,
at all?
at all.
Okay, and the city of Lidle at all pending legislate or litigation, thank you, persistent to the section of 551.071 Texas Government Code. Okay, so there's our opportunity to go into closed session. We will go ahead and, Josie, if you can go ahead and show us at 9:02. Let's go ahead and do that. Council, if you can please join us in the back. Go ahead and take care of this.
We have copies of it.
I didn't make copies for everybody, but I discussed it with the mayor, but I figured you'd need it.
Yeah. Preview? Almost 15 minutes.
Josie, can we go ahead and help Paula in here?
Did he call me too? I'm not going.
So we're gonna need it, are you gonna try to buy another laptop?
Okay, so Josie, if you can go ahead and show us back at 9:19. Right. Right.
No motion. No action.
Okay, have a motion on the floor for no action taken.
Second that.
Get a second. Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right, okay, P, consider and act upon plumbing inspector's request for increase of plumbing inspection fee.
Okay, our plumbing inspector has been charging us $167.50 for coming down on Wednesday. When he's been coming down before Saddle Ridge, he might have had one or two, sometimes 3 inspections each time. The $167.50 covered all of the inspections he did that day. He's been coming down quite a bit more now because of Saddle Ridge. And with the price of gas and everything, he has asked that we give him $190 every Wednesday instead of $167.50.
Okay, Council?
That's an increase from 160.
$750 to $190.
Okay, so that'd be like
How many-
$23.
Yeah.
So how many others do you do?
Well, actually, they're working on several of them alone at Saddle Ridge, so it's nothing for him to do 2 or 3 or 4. In fact, they have been paying, like the check that I'm getting ready for him for this Wednesday, it'll cover 3 days because they've been paying that extra per day for him to come down here, extra days just to expedite matters.
What we pay, is that a reasonable rate for what he's doing, for the people that do that, or,
Well,
is there?
Mr. Martin gets $50 in inspection. So,
Wasn't his $50 too? When I did my house, I always charged $50 for plumbing, $50.
well, that's what we charge y'all. And the reason for that is because he does several of them for that $167.50. I guess there's been a few times maybe that he come down here and just looked at plans or something like that, but, or maybe not even anything, but very few times. But here lately, and we all know if everything goes the way it's gonna go, he's gonna be doing probably several in a day when the next phase of Saddle Ridge, and then of course when Rosewood, and then Light of Farms get going. Anyway, with the price of gas, he felt that he needed to ask for $190. He is driving in from Tilden.
That's far.
Yeah, I forgot to mention Tilden.
And when we look for a licensed plumbing inspector,
They're hard to
they're
come by.
very difficult to find. And I bet right now it'd be even more difficult to find someone to replace him as an individual.
The nickname for Tilden is Dogtown. That's an old, go back to the frontier. And, yeah,
Learn something new.
we call it Dogtown.
That's good. Okay, Council, and get a motion for us to go ahead and do the increase, 190.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to do that. That is a pretty good distance to be driving, so.
I'm thinking
Second. Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay. Q, consider and act upon releasing performance bonds for phase 1 of Saddle Ridge Estates. Okay, I think you have some, there's a, yep, you actually have a handout there, came from Tom to Josie on there. So, this is based on what's going on phase 1 and completing the work that needs to be done. Where we're at today is there's still some reports that need to be sent in I think Josie, you've been part of that conversation. James, we were out there talking to those folks, so we need to do that. What they asked me to ask the council to do is have a conditional release pending the release of the certificates of completion based on receiving the reports. So the process is getting the reports, do the completion, the certificates, coming back to Josie and Tom, saying that everything has been taken care of, and then being able to move on from that point on.
But I think the last thing I saw was Jeff wanted them to run the test. Jeff wanted them to run the TCEQ test on the line, on the water and the sewer line before he would sign the certificate of completion.
Talking about
Saddle Ridge.
Phase one.
first stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've done that. That's all finished.
So we need the reports.
Do we have the reports?
They said they're gonna send the reports. They had all the results of all the tests, and they were gonna forward them.
Yeah, because Jeff had not seen him yet.
Right.
I know I hadn't
On
seen.
the second part there, they hadn't done the water, they hadn't done the testing on the sewer and the water yet.
Well, they'd only asked on phase one.
Yeah, they're only asking for phase one. In fact, they haven't even put up bonds for phase two.
Oh,
So we could go ahead and, agree to release it contingent upon.
The city engineer's release of the certificates. of
And I
completion.
make a motion to do that.
Motion,
I'll second that.
got a second? Any further discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, R, consider an act upon applying for a generator grant under Atascosa. You should have in there, Josie, I think you put it-
Intergovernmental agreement
Yeah.
for our,
So this one is taken off real quick here in the last few weeks, council. We got a call from Atascosa County that they were gonna include us in an opportunity for us to go ahead and get generators. You remember that, Josie?
yeah, they'd already talked to all the other cities and they forgot we were part of it.
So we've been scrambling to go ahead and take the opportunity to be considered. I asked them, I think Josie, they responded back this weekend was when the engineer, Rakowitz, came back, or Ashley from Grant Works, came back and said that
Ashley said this, yeah.
they said that they still don't know exactly the amount. It's gonna be, it's a grant where it's 75-25.
Oh, I think I saw something on that.
Yeah. So, one of them was estimating somewhere between 25 to 55. And this is not one generator, this is generators, to be able to do that. I asked them, to give us a little bit more concrete. This is all they forwarded us. What I'm asking for you is just to take a look and take that into consideration. I don't feel comfortable, honestly. I put it in here because I thought we would have money or an amount for you to take a look at and consider. We're not there yet. What I'm fearful about is that we lose out an opportunity because they want an answer before the next council meeting to be able to do that. It is a good opportunity. We provided all the data that they actually wanted. James has been very helpful with getting some of that CPS too, with all the things that they need. And it looks like they want us to participate.
25 to 55,000 is what I remember her saying.
Yeah, right?
Would be our part of the match.
Somewhere in there. They were overestimating with some of the generation that we needed. Honestly, I think we could go a little bit smaller, but it still goes around the same amount that goes in there. I don't feel comfortable right now, but I want the council to know that if it is a great opportunity, whether we call a special meeting or something, just to be able to get it out there. I don't want to put this in front of you without having the exact numbers of what they're asking for the 25%. But I left it on there. I asked Josie because we were hoping that we would get something this afternoon. We never did get anything.
Other than that estimate.
Yep. So,
But they want it between now and the next meeting.
they haven't given me an answer either. I left this on Friday thinking that they would provide something over the weekend or today, and they haven't done that. But I would like, if possible, we can table it, but understand that if it looks something worth going down the road, that I might ask, if they need a quick turnaround, then I might ask for a special meeting just for us
Don't
to,
they have a deadline?
it's a moving target.
Oh, they haven't even given us a deadline?
I've heard March from one set of people, and I've heard April from another set.
That's kind of what I've read. One of them said March and one of them was April.
I say table it.
Thank you, Jerry. I appreciate it. I have a motion for us to go ahead and table this.
Second it.
Okay, a second. Okay, any further discussion?
So we can check into it.
Well, we're
If,
just
if,
trying to
for the
get
cost.
something from them, yeah.
Yeah.
And then come back to council.
So, I don't feel comfortable with where we're at right now, but I appreciate them getting us involved. Please take a look at the interlocal agreement. Tom, if you can help us out with that, take a look at it, because if it comes really quick, I don't want us to miss out the opportunity on that. Okay? So take a look at that. Okay, have a motion for us to go ahead and table this. I got a second. All those in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Appreciate that. Yes, discuss and consider entering into negotiations for the purchase of additional land for municipal purpose, closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551072, deliberation regarding real property. Okay. Josie, if you can go ahead and show us at 9:31. Go ahead and go to the back. Go ahead and figure this one. Come on over, Tom.
Yeah.
Here in the names next to each other.
Let's sit here for 20 minutes.
Staring at each other before they.
They're gonna sell that, you know what, they got a tree as a hazardous waste. That's another. I'm serious.
What you said in there, you find out.
Hey, look,
Say a
look,
lot.
look. Hey,
He needs
nobody,
a PO.
nobody,
He needs finding fire hydrant.
nobody
for the
does
firehouse.
No matter what I'm contact.
When do we get trained to do the radio lead meters?
I'm not doing meters.
He said, I'm in charge of paying for it, not reading them.
Oh.
Have a good day.
If she doesn't hurry up and help us, we're gonna make her help us read.
Just give me the POs now.
Here's what's gonna happen.
What's
Y'all
gonna
gonna
happen?
radio read the meters, right? Then they're gonna print out here. If someone, hey, he's not gonna handwrite them.
Yeah.
Look again.
Yeah.
Y'all go in there,
Verify
hey,
the radio.
go in there and get you a sandwich, cause Miss Compa, she'll save them, try to hand them out to them in the morning. It ain't fair, it's for us to forget. Y'all go in there and get you a, I'll go in and get you a paper home kid.
You got enough cookies.
How come you didn't bring the cookies home? Go. Go. Get that bag almost tied up in sandwiches in it.
Oh, no, because you know,
In Virginia. Virginia. That's what I'm saying.
I brought lunch.
So Luke didn't get in trouble today,
No, his cousins are here, so.
Our fiscal year is not January.
I like how she reports financial stuff. Whoa, what are you talking about?
She was hot after you.
Who?
Well, let's just say.
I know she was going after you.
parking it, dear.
Yes, I'm taking pictures.
Okay, Josie, if you can actually show us at 9:42. Being back.
I go ahead and make that motion now to allow our attorney to negotiate on said land that we were discussing.
Okay, appreciate it. Got a motion on the floor for us to go ahead and do that. Second. Got a second? Okay. All those in favor?
Staying
Thank you. Any nays? It's okay. Okay, appreciate it. I appreciate it. Okay, we already took care of T, so we got them. Move on and do 9:43. Does everybody have like a 5-minute version?
My boss ain't ever done his report in 5 minutes, so I'm just saying.
2-minute version for Chief. Creek.
What do you think? Monty?
Oh, I don't know if y'all have any questions, like,
We've all sent them to
yeah,
him.
y'all set up, so I don't know if y'all have any
Is there any
questions.
updates or anything you want to pass
No.
on?
Nothing this past January, nothing really going on, just transferred 34 dogs, 34 animals rescued, but that's about it. Nothing.
Council, this weekend, we actually had 65 plus vehicles that came by over at Bella's Pantry, so it was extremely busy.
How many?
65 plus. So we started at 7:30, we already had 16 vehicles lined up. Yeah.
They get there at 6:30
Yeah.
in the morning.
Is it because HEB is having a hard time stopping both?
No, I mean, it's pretty normal, right?
It's pretty normal, yeah, they usually get there at 6:30, yeah, last time I showed up at 6, and then first two cars, 6:30, like, it's early.
Who comes to get the food?
People from all around the county, around the city,
It's free.
it's free. It's Somerset, Divine, Moore.
I mean, typically, it's people with numerous animals or?
Yes,
Okay. Crazy cat ladies, that sort of?
Yes, or dogs.
No, we get a little bit of everything.
Crazy cat ladies out there.
I will tell you, did you want to talk real quick just about Pam Harris and what she's bringing to help out with Hondo, spade and
Yeah,
neuter?
well, yeah, because she's working with allies on that, so I don't know much, but I know you talked to Betty, to the allies, so you can.
So, we have, Pam Harris in the past has done a lot of stuff with making donations to do spade and neuter around the area. We're negotiating with Hondo, but her and her husband, big CEO, retired CEO and stuff, $10,000 towards helping out with spade and neuter. But it goes directly to whoever the provider is that correct?
Yes.
And all you do is provide vouchers?
Yes, yeah, Animal Allies will provide
You
options.
getting $10,000 from Medina County, or what is it?
No, it's to Lotto Allies, and then Allies gives out the vouchers where they'll take their animal to Hondo, at low cost spay neuter. No cost to the city or anything. It's just helping out many of the people who come get food from Bella's Pantry to stop the population of their animals growing and coming for need more food. Because sometimes you'll have they come with 3 dogs. Oh, their dog had a litter of puppies. So we're getting to a step where we're trying to stop that. And Allies is working with Pam Harris. Pam Harris helping us out.
They go out to different small rural communities,
Yes.
correct? And they provide this, so just for the council's awareness.
This is different, because she used to go ahead and pay for the
Yeah, the bus to come
the
out
bus
here.
to come out here
but
and do the space.
but Snap got rid of their bus. They sent it to Houston. Don't know what, and they haven't been out here for the past couple of years.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, and people always calling and asking, like, I'm not sure.
We got used to that, didn't we?
Yes. Yeah, I just don't have to go to San Antonio now.
And in future, you're still looking at another employee? Or?
Yes, I'm gonna contact the previous one that it came about. He had his own business and they started picking up, so he's not gonna take the job anymore. So I'm gonna go down the next line on the next gentleman that applied and speak to him and see how it goes from there.
Please talk to Joe.
Yes.
Okay. Coordinate with Joe. Okay. Thank you. Council, I'm sorry.
So, any questions?
Okay, thank you. Cassandra?
The only change I had was that we did get the books, so I don't know, I didn't change it on the report, but we did get all the books for the grant. And we are waiting on, the new girl to start probably next week, I'm guessing. I don't know if her, background, her background check came back, but it was her.
We're waiting on the results from the
Physical.
I took it last week.
It's last Thursday, I believe, so we're just waiting on her, that, hopefully, once it gets started, she'll be shadowing April and, Joe, so that she can learn the front desk and everything else, but no other changes right now. Does anybody have any questions? You'll probably be seeing more displays pop up on the reports, because we've been working on displays, but I only had one this time around, so.
You're getting more busy with people
We've
using your
actually
Wi-Fi?
gotten a little bit busier, and, because Divine was closed for about a month, we had a lot of people coming over to the library because, they needed to fax, they needed to copy, they needed to print, so they were all coming, and then Castro's library, their computers went down. So they were sending everybody to us, which was fine, because we had open computers to use, so we had a lot more people coming in. It's okay, so we're doing. The only thing there's a drawback is they don't like to pay cash when they have to do, the fax, they're hand me a card, I'm like, oh, no, we only take cash. So, they're used to HEB, I'm like, no.
And a lot of Wi-Fi people too.
Yes,
I've
there is a
noticed,
lot.
Even in the middle of the night.
Yes, we have one guy that's a regular, like every day. I mean, he's there every day. He comes inside, he uses the computer, then he goes outside when we close, and he sits out there till like 3 hours, and then he'll be there like on the weekend as well.
Is he doing it for work or something?
He just uses it because he doesn't have internet at home.
I know one of them that goes, I usually see him in the middle of the night. He goes over there and he's talking to his son that's employed.
Yeah.
So he logs in, he doesn't have internet service at his house, so he logs in and that's how he talks to his son.
Yeah, that we had somebody call today and ask if they could come out. I said, yeah, you can use it outside. Just if you want to use outside, we're closed. You could pull up to the building, and it'll be easier. The Wi-Fi is better right there than it is further out. So, that's it. Anybody have any questions? No? Okay.
Thank you, appreciate that. Super Skip.
Don't have that much.
Every day's a little less.
That's true. It's been slow this past month, but in the waste management, I had only one overage charge that I delivered to one business. There are 3 locations that brush was out early. Talked to those folks, it's just a small little pile of brush. I removed bulky waste at 15 locations, just kind of like going out there and just getting it off the streets, kind of for the people and make the place around Lido look a little bit better. I met with a representative of Builder out at Saddle Ridge concerning out of all that brush that was out there, there's some real nice heritage oaks that split between 2 lots. They're gonna have to put a fence between it, putting these nice heritage oaks. And they're probably gonna have to put a pole or something into a spike or something, a fence post right along one of these heritage oaks, or nail or something into the trunk of the tree. So I referred him to Gary Rips and let him take that up, since kind of out of my category. And at least they're trying to take care of what few trees are out there.
How big is that heritage tree?
I can't remember, 50, 60 inches diameter, it's big. And actually there's 2 of them next to each other. They're a little scraggly because as dry as it has been out there, but they're nice trees.
But they're gonna try to save them, right?
Yes, oh yes, they're working on saving
They
them.
know it's gonna cost them if they
Right,
don't.
right, yeah. They're taking,
fact, the representative I talked to, he's been with the company for, I don't know, 15, 18 years, and this is the first time they've ever come to somebody about a tree. So they're taking it really serious. Have a complaint of a septic system overflow on private property on Railroad Street. I got a hold of the owner who has pumped out the septic system and is taking steps to correct the collapsed system that he has there. And in the process, the renter's son had brought in a RV, and during all these cold months, he and his fiance were living in this RV back in the corner. I don't think they caused the damage to the septic system, but I was able to get the RV pulled out of there, so it's no longer there. They weren't in compliance as far as getting a permit for it. So that situation is being worked on as far as the septic system. And ending on a happy note, talked with Atascosa counties. They're going to allow they're going to utilize their sidearm machine going down Railroad Street here in the next couple of weeks. Looks like to knock out the brush and tree limbs north section of Railroad Street to the city limits over there. So and Commissioner also said that we could utilize their sweeper to clean up along the road there. So,
That's great.
yeah, it's getting started. That's basically it. These past months.
Thanks, appreciate it. Okay. James.
Good evening, everyone. I don't know if y'all got these online or not, but paper copy. Got speed limit signs put on line of Somerset. And just to let y'all know, and what went in the ground and the post without the sign, it cost about $200. Without the sign, per sign.
Proposed, 200, proposed.
200, the cement, the 9-foot post and what went in the ground. The guys have been trimming trees. They haul 3 or 4 loads a day, a week. And they've been trimming just on the ground. They got about a 10-foot saw and they're just cutting. We're eventually gonna go ahead and rent a machine and then cut the bigger ones later on. We got I think we got 3 water leaks on 132 that we're gonna try to take care of this week. And I think we got 2 or 3 meters we need to install. That's it.
Anything for James? You know?
Thank you.
Thanks, James. Appreciate it. All right, Richie.
Well, I can pull mine up there, but you know, it's been posted on the website now for about 4 weeks, so I'll have another one out Friday. So unless you have any particular questions or we don't have a lot of time, I can run through if you want me to, but there's nothing new and exciting. I will be getting with James on the speed limits in the next street we're gonna work on. Probably this week, and then he'll coordinate when he can do that. So other than that, if you have any questions, that's about all. Let's see, think of something to add, think of something.
I got some comments later, but thank you for everything. You know, the last month, you guys have been working everything.
Yeah,
Appreciate it. Okay. Annette?
So I am finally at September 21. And I will be ready for the auditors, which will be here April 4th.
April 4th?
Yes. So we did set that back a little bit because she wants me to drill down into some of the accounts that she has a lot of questions on. So I'm working on that right now. And of course, I have to go through the whole year that I just reconciled because I started in September 2020 and I just now got to 2021. So I cannot give you financials yet. I know you'll want them, but nothing is up to date, in the system to give you current financials as of right now. So the general fund and stuff it's not going to reflect correctly. I'm hoping to have everything done I should be able to do the normal financials probably in about 2 months, if everything keeps going right. I sent y'all an email with all the account balances. I don't know if I got that. You did? It should be in your email. So y'all have all your account balances and all the main accounts, so y'all know where you currently stand. And if you have any questions on the expenses, you can reach out to me too.
Council, any questions? Okay, appreciate it, thanks. Okay, Josie?
Okay, I got around to finishing up yesterday and got it to y'all. Current taxes, we did pretty good. We're at about 81% at the end of January. We've collected quite a bit this month. We're probably gonna be about 88% by the end of, well, today. So we're doing okay with that. Delinquents, we collected almost $1,400 in January. That's a little over $600 more than last January. Fiscal year total though is about 2,660 left. Hotel occupancy tax is doing extremely well. $9,600 in hotel motel tax last month compared to 4,000 last year, excuse me. Franchise tax, we'll be getting those this month. I'll have that report later to you. But we got about $300 last month from ComZoo and CP&L. The fiscal year total though is about $667 more than last January's total. That's good. Sales tax, I think y'all heard me mention it earlier, how well we're doing with that. I will tell you, we collected $153,000 in sales tax this month. That was about $15,000 more than last February. So for the fiscal year total, we're about $81,600 ahead of last year's total. So this is a reflection that the prices are going up on everything because it's being reflected in the sales tax. Water, first month of the year, 36.30, and that was 0.21 acre feet more than last January. I'm really kind of surprised it was close to last January since we've been so dry. Wayne's working in the park, trying to get ready for the baseball season. The election update, we do have an election. We have Mr. Kate that's running for District 5. He is that's an uncontested race. District 4, which is Mr. Stone's district, we have Marshall Witter that filed and a Michael Rodriguez that filed. And then you'll probably, I left y'all a message about this as requested by the mayor, that for mayor, the mayor has refiled and then Tom Kate will be his opponent. We got the payroll audit report back. We are going to end up having to pay about $955 more in workers' comp, but the money was budgeted, so we're okay there. Bond payments were made last month. The audit, Lynette told you that that's been scheduled for April. Recycling, still about the same. Last month was busy. We got the quarterly, the W-2s to 99, plus I was working on the election. And Lynette started January 14th and getting ready for the audit. And the office employees started on February 7th. And then those are the tasks on the next page. And I started working on the Easter event today after y'all approved it. I've got candy here already, and I've gotten surprises already as well. Gonna be talking to the Honor Society kids to be helping me with that project. And we did issue a certificate of occupancy last Friday for Outlaw Seafood Bar and Grill. Bar. I did have a couple of things to add to what I sent out yesterday. I mentioned earlier that Mr. Harris was in today and got permits for 191 pads as an addition to his existing mobile home park over off of Benton City Road. kind of questioned it a little bit, but it's a continuation of the existing park. He got the B2 zoning many years ago with the plan of adding on to the park. And he has added on a few here and there over the years, but not like he's gonna add on. So,
Ma'am, will we get, I'm not familiar with that, but will we get something submitted on roads and stuff to make sure they comply with fire code and everything? Where does that come in the process?
I will have to get with Mr. Harris. I mean, they're just starting this up, you know.
Because I know that in the past, everything
They're
he's
gonna,
done,
they're
they
gonna be,
didn't,
they're
we didn't have
gonna
that.
be doing streets and stuff like that, so, I will have to be talking to them about getting that to us.
Okay.
We'll have all the plans and
Yeah.
everything.
Now, remember that these are gonna be private roads, they're not gonna be our roads.
I still think they still have to.
Yeah, they still have to come up with our code, and I called his attention, to the subdivision
Like
code
with the
and all
fire
of that.
hydrants, the emergency vehicle turnaround.
Right, all of that,
Things
yeah.
like that.
Right, I told him, I called attention for him to pay attention to the code, follow it closely. The other thing is, originally, we were supposed to have a public hearing and, for rezoning. This is Lytle Farms out there, the Diddley property. However, the newspaper didn't, well, they had it in the paper and then they reshuffled some ads, and when they reshuffled it, the ad got thrown out, but it had already been approved and everything. She was pretty upset about them doing that, so we had to reschedule it. The people from Lytle Farms have been very gracious. They said they're not really in that big a hurry. So, a month from today, when we have our second meeting in March, we will have a public hearing for the rezoning. They're wanting the frontage on 2790 to be rezoned B2 for commercial pads. And then there's an area behind it, like about 19 acres, that they're wanting rezoned B2 also, for 99 units of duplexes. So, and then, of course, they're telling us 500 homes behind it. So, but we will be hearing that a month from tonight. And that's all I have to add.
Thank you, appreciate it. Any informational items anybody wants to cover? I got a quick list just to go ahead and go through. Okay, well, number 4, construction is coming along on target, working on electrical on the well side and working on the storage tanks. We were out there, James and the folks, everything is going. The main challenge that we're gonna have is the chemical equipment materials arriving. That's a big challenge, but they haven't talked about changing any of the timetables or anything like that. They're still gonna work with us. So great visit today. So thank you, James, on that. Emergency management forms for the water resources were submitted to TCEQ. This is stuff that we needed to go ahead and turn in by the 1st of March. So James and Robbie, great job on putting all that stuff together and being
That
able
was
to.
for emergency management?
It was called the emergency management, plan forms, but it was basically just the water system. That's all it was on there. COVID positive rate is half from last week, so we're in a good trend right now. So we'll just keep up on how things are coming along too, but it's doing good. Got the first complete for last year's FEMA winter storms assistance. Basically, FEMA sent everything over to TDM with our money that we claimed. So we're basically getting the $12,000 that we actually filed for expenses during that time frame. We should be getting the last 3,000 here deposited for the student. Heads up that in the coming months, we need to start discussions with CPS on gas contract and waste management contract, as the contracts will be up for renewal. Stand by on those. Some of you are part of those as liaisons. Just like Josie mentioned, the Outlaw Restaurant opened up. They had a soft opening this weekend. They're gonna go ahead and continue on here in this coming week. Some more details to come, but you'll see a lot more people going into that area. We need to encourage, if people have any ask, please encourage people to use that parking lot right across from the fire department. For people to actually, that's public parking area, so they can park there and just walk across. 7-Eleven convenience stores, our store is looking at opening in August, so it's right around the corner. You know, it looks like it should be a lot quicker, but the same thing, they got a few things. The next thing, I want to make sure I cover this. The last couple of weeks, I've been informed by some of our citizens about something that is very concerning to me. City employees' involvement in city elections. Tonight, I just want our council to be aware that based on our city employee guidance, our employees should not be directly involved. It reads, an employee may not use his or her official authority to influence or interfere with or affect the result of an election or nomination for office. I'll just leave it there for now, but for your awareness, council. Now, one of the things that we do encourage our employees to do is to vote. So don't forget that voting tomorrow for our primaries is the last day. Pretty much the same places that we actually had. Depending on the county, there might be a few extra locations. I want to say thanks to St. Andrew's Church and Roxanne Estrada for doing all the COVID testing. Let you know they're still available. I'll put out an email for anybody that wants to get tested. They'll do it on a case-by-case basis. And they are willing to go to somebody's house and do the testing if for some reason those persons are housebound too. Thanks for all the support for the veterans couple. Those who lost everything in the fire. A lot of folks have been coming over and taking care of them. The VFW's done a great job of taking care of that family that lost everything. Thanks to Pam Harris, mentioned it before with the spay and neuter program. That was great. Thanks to Public Works and Police Department for getting those speed signs taken care of. I'm already getting calls from people on that road, so they really appreciate what you guys did on there. Richie and Matt, thank you for everything this past week, from escorting, from funerals to taking care of the girls' basketball team. Really appreciate all that extra touch.
A lot of funerals.
So a lot. We've had a lot. Congratulations to the Lady Pirates, coaches and the families. First time they gotten that high in the sense of the finals. So be able to do that. Also, congratulations to Stefan. We had somebody in Lytle that actually reached the top 10 chairs in the state for French horn. So that is awesome. So in the future, we'll probably be recognizing some of these folks. Congrats to a successful merger of Community National Bank Texan. If you haven't noticed, you've gone over there. They've done that. There's going to be more details that are going to come out, but that was great. And Mr. Roberts was mentioning prayers for Wayne Hurl and his recovery. I just passed out. You should have these. I have a few extras if you want any, but there's an address on there to go ahead and send some best wishes and some cards to Wayne. Lori said that it was okay for me. He does have some physical challenges. He does have some serious physical therapy to go through. His right side is having some major challenges. And along with that, with being able to feed himself too. So this is our time to step up. We need to help him, build him up. He's got some challenges to go through there. So please, I ask you to please reach out. They do, for right now, cards and best wishes are the best thing. But Lori said that maybe in a couple of weeks, if you guys want to call or want to reach out, and I'll get that phone number, they're more than welcome for you to stop by and visit him.
So who's at his daughter's?
Tomorrow, he's going to be transferred over to the house tomorrow.
Here on Ball Road or his
No,
daughter's house?
to his daughter's house in San Antonio. But in 2 weeks, they'll be willing to take visitors. Okay, so anybody wants to stop by and visit him, please do so and try to do that. And then lastly, just like Richie was talking about, we lost a lot of people. There's a lot of prayers. We lost a lot of people around here. We had relatives close by. Please reach out to these families. We just had a wave of folks, and some of these are not COVID related. Some of these are related to just other things. But please reach out and help out those folks. Any last minute things? Yes.
Starting Wednesday and every Wednesday and Friday, and then the church can be selling fish fry. Anybody want to comment?
It'll be different without Alfredo being there. I was so
You there last year?
Oh, they will, yeah,
No.
I forgot about that.
He had surgery.
Good opportunity, definitely. We'll work hard to do that, without a doubt. Okay, can I get a motion for us to go ahead and conclude? It's 10:10. Got a motion? Got a second? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Thank you so much.
So y'all be there
Have a great evening.
You see it, so I'm gonna end this stream.
Jose, you got one of these?
Yep.